Welcome to episode 14 of the Lightning Round. I am your host, Lightning.
And I'm your co-host, Drashy Dash.
To start off today, we just have a couple of interviews to talk about. This week we have our interview with the Equestria Inquirer. That'll be Joe Stevens, Tech Rat, and LTT Moose. That'll be coming up in just a minute or two here. Next week we'll have our interview with Pony in a Box Productions. And the week following that will be our special episode where we've got our Season 3 discussion that we'll be having over Skype. And then the week following that, we have Joshua Lees, also known as Mr. McTwiggification, who is the creator of the My Little Pony the Sins of Friendship series that has been up on the Nightly Roundup in Equestria Daily. So, bunch of things coming up in the future, and with that, we'll head into the interview for this week with the Equestria Inquirer. Alright, first thing up for this week, we have our interview with the Equestria Inquirer. With us today, we have Joe Stevens.
Good evening, Ponyville.
And Tech Rat.
Greetings, citizens.
And LTT Moose.
Good evening, citizens!
So, why don't we start off by why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves and how you became bronies in the first place?
Well, I'm Joe Stevens. That is my pen name that I write under with the Equestria Inquirer. I became a brony because I saw these memes posting up on the internet, and I thought, that looks interesting. I think the first meme I saw was Rainbow Dash saluting when they killed Osama bin Laden. I was like, it was Rainbow Dash saluting with an American flag in the background. I was like, why is a blue pony really excited that we killed bin Laden? And so I had to figure out why Rainbow Dash really liked military accomplishments. And I discovered this show that it was attached to. And I said, okay, well, I honestly really just like cartoons in general. And so I was going to investigate what this show is about. And I went to IMDb, and I found 3 names that really turned my head. The first name was Lauren Faust. I remember her from Fairly Odd Parents and Foster's, or not Fairly Odd Parents, but Powerpuff and Foster's. And then I saw Tara Strong attached to the piece, and I remember her from Fairly Odd Parents and Powerpuff. And then I saw the third name, which was the real deal sealer, which was James Woody Wooten, who I remembered being an integral part of the show Ed, Edd and Eddy. And I looked at this list of 3 people, and I said, I'm going to be obsessed with this show. I'm just, before I ever saw 1 second of My Little Pony, I knew I was going to love it. And I know that's kind of rare. And so I actually, said, I'm going to love this show. And then I sat down, I watched it, I said, yep, I love this show. And so it was my involvement with the people who work on this show's past efforts that really made me say, I'm going to pay attention because I know you people make darn good cartoons. So that's me.
I guess that means it's my turn then, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I always go third. Yes, I always defer to the 2 senior members.
It's the chronological order.
we stand on your shoulders in the EQI totem pole.
And I throw you over hills.
Yes. Well, I had heard just like little inklings of it before I really started getting into it. I really hadn't been following it all that much. And then I was looking at YouTube the one day, and I happened to stumble upon this one video, which was it was the scene from the end of the second episode where they're defeating Nightmare Moon, and somebody had dubbed over that scene this gruff guy's voice screaming, "Taste the rainbow!" followed by a very nasty expletive. And and I'm looking at this video. And at first, I didn't think it was a full cartoon. I thought it was like a fan-made thing. I'm like, well, this is cool, I just didn't think that this was the new show that I had heard inklings about. I said, this can't be it. This looks too awesome. And then I saw Equestria Girls, and that kind of cemented my interest in this show because now this was not only did it confirm for me that this is the real animation, this is the real show, but Equestria Girls was just completely hysterical. I mean, the parody was spot on. They were making shout-outs to these brony guys, which at that point I really didn't understand exactly what bronies were. And I just thought it was hilarious. And I'm like, you know what? I got to give this show a try. So the one night I finally, after a little hemming and hawing, sat down and went to the Hub website. What? Were you hemming and hawing? I was hemming and hawing. These are legitimate activities. You could do that.
There are donkeys in the room when you were heeing and hawing.
No. I didn't say heeing and hawing. I said hemming and hawing. It means to delay. It means to waffle with uncertainty. What? What's that?
The word hemming and hawing means to exemplify a person who has horrible taste in adjectives. That is the definition of that word. I'm using this word because I don't know what sounds interesting.
That's exactly right, and apparently it didn't work, so I'm just going to...
You've concluded your hemming and hawing.
I've concluded my hemming and hawing, and if you have any other adjective suggestions, feel free to throw them in. But anyway, I went to the Hub and I watched an episode, and I think it was Over a Barrel was the first episode that I watched. And I'm like, okay, all right, this isn't bad. Next thing I know, I'm marathoning the entire first season on my phone in my bed for like 3 days straight. I'm watching like 4 or 5 episodes a night.
Nice.
And I just got sucked right into it, and it drove my wife crazy because I'm sitting in bed watching these shows, and it just. She didn't approve of it. But yeah, I marathoned like the entire first season at that point, and then I was just hooked ever since, and I started, actually seeking out more content, seeking out like going to Equestria Daily and sites like that, and just getting totally absorbed in, just the creativity of the community, and then, after that, the community itself.
Okay, I guess I'll go next then. Seeing as how we process of elimination here.
That long pause means that's next.
Just that whole beep, next slide.
And don't use the words hemming and hawing, because apparently that's taboo.
You must create your own.
I learned that the hard way.
Would you ever think people would just jump on you for saying hemming and hawing?
Absolutely not. I felt totally violated.
Well, okay, so I have my own webcomic. I was into the whole webcomic community. And there was a whole bunch of people that I regularly converse with.
Tell the name of it. Tell the name. You
what does that LQT stand for?
Ridiculously famous webcomic that you have, that you've talked with Jeff Jocks and gotten props from Control-Delete for this awesome webcomic. Talk about that a second.
No. It's less than 3 comics. Whatever. But anyways,
less than 3. Go see it, everyone.
But anyways, one of the people I regularly conversed with was Scott Ramsumer from VG Cats, and he started making a whole bunch of pony references. Even actually, I think the first thing that I saw from him is that he actually drew the Cutie Mark Crusaders in their talent show garb as sort of like a throwaway gag. And he was like, you know what? I like it. I don't care. I'm posting it up on my site. Screw you guys. I'm going home. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, if Scott likes it, that's a pretty good sign that, it's quality stuff. So, I mean, it was still My Little Pony, and I was still sort of, it's a corporate show. It's one of those shows that, is just out there to get, kids money and, just buy the toys, buy some apples. So I didn't look further into it. Then I started hearing about the response that Lauren Faust had done to a commenter who was basically saying the same thing. It's a product-driven show. It's the death of creative media. The artists and the writers have no say anymore. And I read her rebuttal to that. Saying that she had fully expected that without people ever actually watching the show. And as I was reading this, I was like, oh my God, she's got some great points. You know what? I'm going to give this thing a shot. Simply in support of that rebuttal. It was so well written. So I started, I think the first episode that I had actually watched, because it was hard to find the Hub channel near where we are. It's buried. I usually stick to the HD channels. This one doesn't have HD in our area. I actually had to really look for this. And of course, using the internet was out of the question because I'm Amish. So I finally found it, and they were playing. I think it's the Cutie Mark Chronicles, where they go to the bowling alley, and I saw Lebowski ponies, and I said, "That's the moment. That's it right there." When I saw Lebowski ponies, I knew that I had to get into this thing. So after watching the show,
that was Cutie Pox, yeah.
was Cutie Pox. Okay, yes. So, I started watching, more and more. I started, just like Tech said, started going on to the, getting deeper into the community. And really, it's the community which really sort of sucked me into this thing. Because seeing the creativity and the output and the speed at which these guys work, was simply jaw-dropping. I had been looking for inspiration for a while now to sort of, jumpstart that creativity. And I had found it, and I was totally blown away. Beep.
And for the question everybody wants to know, favorite pony, favorite episode.
Oh, okay. Well, see, this is easy.
Why must you do this?
No, it's easy for me, and I've actually been asked this. Rainbow Dash winter wrap up. Rainbow Dash because she is of course best pony, and this is known. I do cycle between Rainbow Dash and Scootaloo on occasion, mainly because I want Scootaloo to have her episode so bad. Thankfully, Maddie Peters basically spoiled the crap out of the fact that there is going to be one. I don't know if she was allowed to say that or not. She didn't outright say it, but they all started giggling and laughing when I told them that there was not going to be a season 2 episode. This happened live on the air, so I could talk about it.
So this is what we're doing, is we're using the giggling of 12-year-old, girls to validate news.
Yeah. So
are you saying Hasbro's going to have a no giggling clause in their future contract?
Purely speculation, but there will be. But the fact that she's had so little is what makes me intrigued with Scootaloo, which just makes sometimes I vacillate between Rainbow Dash and Scootaloo. But the reason I like Winter Wrap Up is I think it is the most Broadway-esque show, and I think that has not been done in any show in a long time, and I think it is very unique and very fun and very awesome. It also shows a good deal of every character, and so I like it for that. So,
okay. Moving on. All right. After much hemming and hawing, I have decided that. Which I looked up, by the way, while you guys were chatting, just so I could see what the heck I said.
Webster say.
And it says hemming and hawing is to be uncertain about something, to be evasive. It's usually used when you're in the process of speaking, so like you might be hemming and hawing while you're having a conversation, but it can also mean to be uncertain about something, so it was appropriate. So to all you haters out there, boo-yah.
Thank you for turning this interview into an English 102 class, by the way.
Yes, this episode of the Lightning Round is now brought to you by the letter H.
For hemming and hawing. And I'm leaving dictionary.com open in case this happens again. Best Pony. We were talking about Best Pony. I tend to flip-flop back and...
character named Hemming and Hawing.
Hemming and Hawing. Oh, it could be like the next Flim Flam Brothers.
Exactly.
Hem and Haw. Oh, I like this.
They're very uncertain about whether the whole episode is.
They never actually do anything.
If they want to go to Ponyville or not. That's the whole episode. I don't know if we need to go to Ponyville.
It would be like the MLP version of Waiting for a Good Call. They just sit on a park bench for 30 minutes.
Oh, wow.
All right, that's enough. We have questions to answer. This is an interview, right?
Yeah.
I tend to, for Best Pony, I tend to flip-flop back and forth between Fluttershy and Trixie, which is kind of like two opposite ends of the spectrum. Fluttershy just because I just love her character. I just love how she has like these two polar opposites of her character that pop out at different times. Her incredibly like meek, quiet side, and then like deep inside repressed, she has this teeming monster side that can come out at the most interesting times. Like when she's facing down a dragon, for example, where she just kind of blows up and defends her friends and just stares a giant fire-breathing dragon straight in the eye. I like that depth of her character. It just appeals to me. It's something that I really haven't seen personally in any of the other main characters on the show. And then, like I said, I kind of flip-flop between her and Trixie. And as far as Trixie is concerned, I just like the fact that she's a very dynamic character. And that she there's just certain traits about her that you also don't see in any of the other characters in the series. Just the fact that she's so sure of herself and so arrogant and so over the top. I just think she's a very interesting and entertaining character to watch. and I'm really hoping that the rumors are true that she's going to be showing up again in season 3 because I'd like to see a lot more. A lot more can be done with her, either to, more firmly establish her as sort of like a foil for Twilight Sparkle, or as a chance for redemption, which I think she kind of deserves. So, let's see how those.
I like her the foil concept because she seems to have too many redemption episodes. I think it'd be more interesting to see her being more foil.
Yeah.
So it's overcoming that.
I think that would be interesting. I'd love to see her go either way. So definitely curious to see what they do with that character.
You and about 70,000 fanfic writers would do like that the same, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I do not want to. Oh no. I know where you're going with this. I know exactly where you're going with this. I'm not going to chew it over with Twixie. Okay, I am not going to.
So favorite episode then?
Favorite episode. This is a tough one because it depends on whatever episode I'm thinking of at the moment. Because this is one of those things like where you're picking a favorite child. You just can't do it. But right now I'm thinking about Hurricane Fluttershy because there is just so much good stuff in that episode.
Yeah!
Oh yeah! Yeah!
That's my favorite cosplay.
Yes, that was awesome. That was an awesome cosplayer. But how Fluttershy grows in that episode. Really.
A Dragonshy episode, yeah.
Oh, even more so, because with Dragonshy, she really didn't grow that much until the very, very end. With Hurricane Fluttershy, she sort of, you could see her like slowly advancing throughout the whole episode. And it kind of spoke to me on a personal level too, because, I don't know, maybe a lot of people share this, but, when I was a kid too, I had a lot of doubts and I had a lot of uncertainties about the things that I did, and I would always think, I couldn't do things, or people would tell me I couldn't do it, and they'd pick on me and things like that. So to watch that episode and to just watch her, kind of overcome this total lack of confidence she had, and actually, do what she set out to do at the beginning, it actually kind of spoke to me, and I think it was really, an important lesson, for them to tell. And kind of an important lesson for me too. I think I even actually learned something from it.
Well, unlike these other two wafflers here, I'm gonna say one.
Hemming and hawing.
I know, yeah. Everybody else, I can't decide between one or two. That means you don't have a favorite pony, okay? I do have a favorite pony. Her name is Applejack. I have to say.
Get back on the bottom of the totem pole.
I know. I always get this reaction when I say Applejack is best pony. I don't understand why. She's just honest. She's got great work ethic.
Applejack needs more love.
She really does. I mean,
I have to agree with you with that. She does need more love. It's true. It's true.
I was so pissed off when I saw the new season 2 massive poster, and she's crammed in the back with the background ponies. I'm like,
I think they did that on purpose, just as a poke to the.
As a joke, yeah. I hope they did. That Hasbro is trolling the Applejack fans. But no, I mean, Ashley Ball does a great job with her voice. Yeah. Love that little Tennessee Valley drawl that she's got. Always had, soft spot in my heart for the down home farm girls. She's got freckles, so I gotta support the freckles. But yeah, definitely Applejack, my favorite. Favorite episode. Now this one I will waffle on. Of course, gotta have my favorite Applejack episode, which is Last Roundup. Definitely loved that one. Thought it was hilarious. It was just a whole bunch of, the I Love Lucy references, great. Breaking of Pinkie Promise, the rage in Pinkie Pie's eyes at the time was hilarious. And a nice little lesson too. But tops of all has to be Lesson 0, the breaking of Twilight Sparkle. I just love seeing the insane looks in Twilight Sparkle's eyes. That, hi girls! That's the one that I show to everybody. If anybody is like, okay, Steve, show me this pony thing that you're always talking about. That's my go-to episode.
That's a pretty good hater converter one right there. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree. That and Party of One, I think, are the two two crazy pony episodes are the ones to show first.
I think they both fall.
All right, so why don't you guys tell us what the Equestrian Inquirer is?
Okay.
It's a madhouse! A madhouse!
The basic premise of the Equestrian Inquirer was built off of what I had done with the Gravy Inquirer, which is a farcical newspaper created for the show Ed, Edd and Eddy. The basic premise that I had with that show was, what if there was a newspaper in Ed, Edd and Eddy, and what stories would they write about, imagining that the everyday events in the show are actually normal things. And that's funny because there are things like they would drain the river and there are lobsters there. Well, what? They're in like this Midwest or whatever town, and there are lobsters in the river. What circumstances and set of events occurred for there to be lobsters in the river?
Someone had a pet lobster.
Exactly. So you have to create this imaginary backstory for how this lobster got in that river. And, of course, that inherently is a funny story. How is Ed capable of lifting a house? How is it the multiple occasions in which a house is destroyed in the episodes are suddenly recreated in further episodes? There's a lot of... So it's filling the gaps that the stories created and saying that this is what it's like to live in this world. And that is a hilarious concept. And so, it's basically saying, well, Johnny's house got destroyed again, and here's why. And, that's the newspaper. And so I took that concept, and I applied it here. And it works with any cartoon show, really. It works with any program, really. It's saying, why is it, and the very first article was based off of, what do you do when you live in a world in which a pony, and the only pony that can do this, is capable of doing something that is entitled a sonic rainboom, and by all visual purposes is a very, destructive release of energy.
Yeah, I think somebody worked out the math where when she's diving and rescuing Rarity, the amount of G's that she would pull in order to hit that angle and create a sonic rainboom would shatter the Earth.
Right. It is a catastrophic exertion of energy. And so what is it like for a military state that obviously exists? And, you put these connections together and you realize that this would be the normal reaction to a society that lives in that. But that normal reaction is funny as all be and so the first article was Rainbow Dash is declared a weapon of mass destruction. And so the show has moved in that, it has existed in that realm. Like that is the first article, and it's the defining article. It's let's take what is really happening and piece the connections that exist that the show is not outright telling us, but obviously must be there, and let's make it normal news, but it's hilarious and silly. And
I think you actually corrected me on that one time, because I think one of the first articles that I had written, I referenced that. I saw through your articles that Rainbow Dash, I didn't actually read the very first one, but I had seen that Rainbow Dash had this kind of, terrorist vibe to her. I think I actually referred to her as, local terrorist Rainbow Dash, and you edited that to say, local weapon of mass destruction. I was like, oh, maybe I should have read that before.
It was an EQI cannon.
Yeah, she's not actively trying to hurt some ponies.
Exactly, yeah.
She's capable of doing it.
she's more like the Hulk than the Red Skull.
Exactly. And so it started as that, and the idea was from the very beginning I wanted to involve people with it, because it is so much more fun when you can share it with it, and also it's very, sometimes you can run out of material. And the TV program was literally, hey, what if I just read an article in front of a camera? And it sort of just kind of evolved to getting progressively more like pretending to have an actual news show, and being progressively more silly. And then you guys can chime in, and you guys, I don't like to impose my definition on it, because I think that the less control I put over it, the more it can evolve, and it is definitely going in its own kind of unique direction. So I guess chime in.
Well, we really have to defer to you. I mean, this is your baby, buddy. I mean, this is we're just along for the ride.
Yeah, I mean, as far as that specific question is concerned, you pretty much hit everything on the head. We're just sort of continuing what you started. you know?
Right, and I think the cool thing that you guys bring in is you bring a different perspective. I bring my particular type of style of hilarity is deadpan. You know, say 10 million people were killed, but, you know, when you say it that, you know, 10 million people were killed when, you know, Fluttershy had a salad. You know, silly things like that. But
waves of diabetes wash across the land.
Exactly. And
Dawed to death.
TechRat is able to do this incredibly silly articles. It just and you have your particular style, and then
I like to fall down a lot.
You drop keyboards, drop things. Yeah, very, very practical.
My style of humor is very self-depreciative, so I tend to inject a lot of that into my articles.
Hey, you had Fluttershy say you could lose some weight.
Yes.
You don't get much.
And the sad thing is that she's right, you know. So.
And then Moose just like takes in and we've actually thought about this, is that I'm Jon Stewart. TechRat is which of the co
Rob Kojak.
Rob Kojak.
Yeah.
And then Moose is Stephen
Colbert.
And so that's basically the best way of looking at what we all bring to the table. Is Jon Stewart really set the game, but he's not necessarily the top-notch funny guy, but the whole thing revolves around him being the head guy, but, you know, the other guys are actually kind of more funny than he is now. So
depending on your tastes, I mean, Jon Stewart is still good.
Yeah, I hope that answers.
You still have fans, Joe. We're stealing them slowly from you, but you still have fans.
I know, it's so weird. I keep seeing these comments on YouTube. It's like, LTT Moose is gunning for top position now. He's going to take your guys' jobs, smother you in your sleep. I'm like, what? You got to be kidding me. I mean,
I never got those comments. It jumped right from Joe to you, man. I'm just sort of there.
It's because he has Rainbow Dash in the background of his episodes, and obviously Rainbow Dash is best pony, and so that's why. I mean,
that's gotta be it.
I know. I feel like I'm betraying Applejack by having Rainbow Dash, but that was actually like my roommate had heard that I was doing this. Because he saw me like leaving the house at 10 o'clock at night in a suit and with a camera.
Where you going?
Exactly.
What kind of party are you having?
I don't know what. I can't leave in the middle of the night with a camera without an inquisition. I mean, come on. But so I told him about all this. He showed him some episode, and he was like, "Huh, okay." He hadn't actually seen the show, but then he comes back like 2 days later and is like, "Got you a present," and it's. He had been going to Toys R Us for his toys, which are the Marvel DC action figures, not dolls, no. And he said, "Oh, I walked into the girls' aisle and I picked this up for you," and it was a Rainbow Dash. So, not quite sure if he was supporting me or just trying to dig at me, probably a little both, but that's how I got that.
Well, all right then. Was it always recorded, or did it start in print only?
It definitely started in print only. In fact, the Gravy Inquirer was completely print only. I never did any YouTube stuff with it because it began and ended before YouTube really caught on, and so it was sort of like the reason the YouTube we went in like 12 issues before the YouTube series was started, and it was right. Yeah, I started posting on DeviantArt. It literally was, I'm going to copy and paste what I've written into the body of an email, and Equestria Daily posted that copy and paste. It was that was the first issue, and then it went from that to a DeviantArt JPEG that allowed you to read it. That was an upgrade for us, and then it went from the DeviantArt JPEG to saying, okay, if I get 500 or if I get 100 followers on DeviantArt, I'll do a video of me reading an episode, and that was accomplished quite handily. And so it was literally just me saying, hey, I'm going to have fun with this, and then it was sort of like me thinking, well, can I do this like along with? I mean, is that even possible? And then I did it, and the only reason we kept doing it is because we had such a positive reception. And then immediately when it became positive reception, actually, no, I'll take that back, because the big thing,
the only reason we do this is for accolades. Really, that's the only reason.
Well, when Battlefield Bro came in, the second episode I put it on there, I put it on where you could freely download the episode. And he said, I might do that. So he downloaded it, and he made our intro. And he made it look so much like it was a real thing, like CNN type deal, that I was like, okay, I think we've got something here. You know, this looks, and to this day it's the same intro. And it's just brilliant, and it's just awesome. And I'm like, okay, I think that if I have this guy who knows what he's doing video editing-wise, and I can just yell at the camera for a while, I think we can actually do something. And if he is handling the editing, then I can do that once a week, no problem, because it's just me reading the issue.
Yeah, not enough credit goes to Battlefield Bro for the amount of work that he did putting all this together. I mean, I literally when I first started doing like the videos, because again, I just started out as a freelancer. I had, sent some articles over to Joe, and I was like, hey, do you think I'm funny? And he was eventually, deigned to agree that, okay, we'll go ahead and put you on there. And I was like, cool. And, I want to do some videos too. And, so I shot them on my camera, and I had no experience putting together editing any sort of video whatsoever. So Joe was like, just send them on over to Battlefield, bro. Or send those things over to him. I could not believe what he was able to do with, transitions and polishing my rough, footage into the stuff that he was able to do there. So he doesn't get enough credit.
Which is very enabling. It allows us to focus on being funny and our performance and not worry about, well, can I make this transition? Can I make this cut? Can I make sure that the sound cue works? It's us saying, here's our script and here's our performance, and the technical aspects we don't have to worry about. And it allows us to focus on being funny. And,
exactly, yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah. So he comes along, he does this, and I say, actually, this is really funny, this is really good, and there's a lot of positive reception towards it. I think we've got something here. Let's see where it leads. And then it started getting a following, and people started saying you need to, the YouTube part became more popular than the YouTube videos got more views than my DeviantArt page. And I was like, okay, once that happened, in fact, it's like in 3 weeks, I'm getting more views on our YouTube than I am on DeviantArt. I'm like, okay, that's pretty obvious that they prefer the video version. So I started saying to TechRat, who had about that time transitioned from freelancer to you're going to do an article a week. And I said, all right, I want you to do the video with me. I'm just starting this video. I don't want to do it alone. I want to have more people involved.
And I said no.
Yeah, he did. He said no, and I had to talk to him. And go ahead and share your thoughts on it, because I know you have your particular perspective on that.
Yeah, and what killed me about it was that this was something that I had always wanted to do. Every time somebody asked me, I say I've always wanted to do like comedy and sketch comedy and this kind of thing, like improv and that kind of thing. But what was keeping me from doing it here was because I had just gotten into the Brony community. I was still very self-conscious about being a Brony. And, just the thought of putting my face out there, because when you think about it, you think of all the big names in the community, and just think, at least initially, how few of those people actually put themselves out there.
It's quite rare. It's quite rare.
It's very rare. I can think of a handful of people who, any kind of regular content that they produce, a handful of people who actually do it. Dusty Cat's one of them, Saber Spark, AC Race Best, a couple names that come to mind. But really, a lot of people don't do that. And I was in the same boat. I was very self-conscious about that. I'm like, oh, geez, what if my family sees this? What if my friends see this? What if my boss sees this? Oh, that's going to be fun. So, but it was killing me because I've been wanting to do this kind of stuff my entire life. And I went back and forth. I hemmed and hawed for quite a while.
Why is that the word of the night?
Because I say so. And I reached the point where I told myself, the heck with it. I want to do this. It's going to be fun, and I don't care. So the one night I just pulled out my camera phone, stuck it in a piece of cardboard to hold it up, sat in front of my bedroom window, and put together like this little 45-second thing about how they made a law that prevented Apple Bloom from whining because it was just so annoying.
She was brilliant, and then she got fed to Timberwolves. I love that.
No, that was Diamond Tiara. Diamond Tiara got fed the timber.
Yes, yeah.
Apple Bloom was reduced to complaining about stuff on her face with accountant's debt. So, so I did it, and it was
I really gotta watch those older episodes.
No, you don't. They're horrible. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I feel horrible. I'm part of the crew, and I don't see these references.
There's only a season 2, right? And I called my bit Mares in a Minute because at the time that's as much time as I thought I'd be able to provide to the show. I'm like, I can do probably like a minute sketch, every week, just something real quick I can do in front of my bedroom window, and I'll give that to you. Now I'm doing like 9-minute bits. And Mares in a Minute,
and
no
there's just
longer applies
and on.
Yeah, I know, it's horrible. So it's like people ask me like Mares in a Minute, why is it called Mares in a Minute? I'm like, don't ask, just watch the show. So but yeah, so I got over my fear because I wanted to do that type of thing so badly. And then I sent it in, and Joe loved it, and it got a pretty good reception, and I just kept doing it.
Yeah, and then Moose, how did you get involved in it?
Oh, what? You don't know Joe?
No, I want you to. Well, yeah,
the listeners don't know.
We've had all of our introductions and everything, and I think that you kind of asked. Well, we had you, Tech Rat, and we had Battlefield Bro handling the videos, and we had we had a second.
Somebody came before Moose. Somebody came before.
Truth or True, but he did not want to do any video work. So he still is a contributor to the print issue, and still does our sponsorship clips, but nothing in front of the camera. And then Moose I call him our last freelancer because we stopped.
That's like the last Starfighter. I like that.
He was a little
freelancer. You have been
3 weeks in a row, he was our freelancer, and it was because he was so outclassing every freelancer, but I did not have enough space. It would have been too long to fit in the DeviantArt account to include both his article and another freelance. And so I kind of didn't want to say, and so he kind of said, hey, Joe, I'm kind of doing this like every week now, so can I be a regular contributor too? And I finally said, okay, fine. We'll have the LCT Moose segment, and we'll just, because of content, we'll have to drop the freelance. We still have freelance, so we still take it, so please keep sending it in. But, yeah, and so...
Please don't be intimidated by the fact that I blew every other freelance out of the water, yes.
And what we didn't realize taking him on for the video segments is that he would start outclassing us as well.
Yeah, the first, oh my gosh, just right from the beginning. He's like, all right, I thought about doing the videos for you guys, and here's my first submission. And, it was brilliant. It was brilliant.
And they've just gotten better from there, and it's scaring us. It's honestly scaring us.
I thought about filming a segment at Everfree Northwest where it was just me and Tech Rat beating LTT Moose,
yes.
and kicking him and saying, stop being so funny.
And then my next segment, is going to have to be, me in bandages with a black eye, just reading the news.
And then that would have been funny. We would have been enabling it.
Yeah. That's right. I can take this straw, spin it to gold.
We can't win.
No, it happened exactly like Joe said, and really, the way that I got into it was I saw these things on Equestria Daily. I saw the print issue, then I saw the videos. I was like, these guys are living the dream. They're doing exactly what I wish I had the courage myself to do. Let me hitch my wagon to their train here. I just have to ride their coattails. Is basically what I said to myself. I was like, if I can somehow worm my way into this, then I've completed a life goal. I can check something off on this.
This coming from a guy who had a ridiculously famous webcomic. I mean, that is, I still am humbled by the fact that you want to be involved in this, because I'm a huge webcomic fan, and it's baffling to me that you want to get involved into this when you have such success. And I love your segments, and so it's just awesome.
And it was just terrible because I actually got into this, started doing the articles and the videos right as I was getting back into updating the comic again. People were like, "Oh, finally! All right, build yourself up a."
We stole you from your fans.
Exactly. You have killed my comic, man. You're a stake into its heart.
I can cross that off of my list now. I have killed a webcomic.
Tech Rat the Dream Smasher. Yeah.
Yes.
So, who does all the writing for the show?
We all do our own individual segments. Yeah, yep. I mean, that's the fun part about it is whenever you're doing your bit, you own your bit. You write it, you film it. Sometimes we do our own editing. I know TechRat does a lot of his own editing. But you know, you whatever your segment is, that's your segment. And the most we do as far as coordination is saying, "Hey guys, this week this is what I'm going to do."
Yeah, I had the only time I think I asked about that was Batman. The newest Batman movie had just come out, and I was like, probably that's going to be a forefront of everybody's idea. Everybody's going to want to drop a parody of that. So I was like, dibs, in our group.
Yeah, he didn't ask. He just kind of took it,
Well, in the same comment, I was like, is anybody else doing one? Because if not, I got it.
No,
it's already written and recorded. It's too late, but this is just for.
I did one, but I don't think it was so far out in left field that it didn't apply to competing with yours. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think I had a small reference in my bit that week too. We all had Ne'er-do-well or Batman references that week, but they didn't clash. They all kind of still fit well together.
My philosophy has always been that creative people are going to be the most creative if you give them the freedom to live, to work in. TechRat and Moose already know what the guidelines are. Is our rule number one is like the only rule we have is be funny. And be funny, keep it PG, and work within the guidelines that it is news. The only time we really don't like items is when it reads like fan fiction or when it reads like prose. It has to read like journalism. It has to read like it's a story.
And we walked that line a couple times, I think.
Breached that line on occasion, but as long as we stay close to it. And so they know it, I know it. The Inquirer has its own its own sense of identity, and they believe in it. And so because they believe in it, and because I believe in it, we can live within that. We can live within that realm. And if you're allowed to thrive within that realm, you already have the boundaries of what you can and can't do. That's enough. And so once you understand those boundaries, you should be completely free to do whatever you want in those. So I want to enable them to do.
Now that's not to say we work in a vacuum either. I mean, it's a great example of this was I had actually started writing an article and I got a message from TechRat. And he said something about scissors, like he was going to use, like he was it was something about.
I mentioned I had scissors at the end of the segment that I was sending to you.
Right. Yes.
And then you're like, oh, can I take it?
Yeah. And I said, yeah, okay, yeah, for little continuity's sake, maybe I could be, playing with scissors at the beginning of my next thing, and that just mutated into it took over my entire article. The original article, it was gone at that point. It just sort of cascaded into a thing where, if I have the scissors, I should be running with scissors. And if I run with scissors, I should fall with the scissors. And if that happens, I can stab my brain with that, and then I can just keep doing the interview. And it's like I had no idea that was going to come until literally 5 minutes after I had seen that thing, after the article was written and everything.
Yeah, so we do collaborations, but we don't, we own our own items. I think that's the most fun part about it. It is no one person's Inquirer. We all kind of own. I don't think I've ever felt like when we put things out there that it is my item. I think it is a shared piece, and it's because we're able to contribute. It is never, this episode is completely TechRat's episode. This episode is completely Joe's or Moose's episode. It is our episode because we contribute to our own items and, they all work together and, we all write our own things.
Yep, totally agree.
Yep. All right. During a season of My Little Pony, you tend to use aspects from the show, but It's never just events that happen in the show. You generally take it one step further. How about giving us a little bit of insight into the process of writing those articles?
That was a new thing for me. When the Gravy Inquirer came out, it was 100% just what's a funny thing I can talk about the show. When the show started, when the Equestrian Inquirer first started, it was what's a funny thing I can talk about the show. But I started in the summer. The Equestrian Inquirer, it's about a year anniversary. It's close to its year anniversary right now, actually. And so there was no new material. It was all season 1 material. Issue 6 was when we had new material, was when we had the Discord episode. And it was only because I knew that the start of season 2 was going to be such a newsworthy item in the community. People were going to be talking about it. And it's like, I want to be a part of what people are talking about. So it's like, I have to talk about the new episode in some way. And so I mentioned, so the headline for that week was about Discord. And then the next one was, I have a perfect idea for the defeat of Discord in an article. And so it kept on going to the point where I realized that people are going to be expecting me, because it's a fake newspaper. Well, what is a newspaper going to talk about but the new stuff? So you can't have at least
called the news, not the olds.
You have to. So we got to the point where we had to have at least one article a week that talked about the new episode. It was a requirement. And so what I would do is Saturday morning I would watch the new episode and immediately start writing what was the singular most silly aspect of that episode that I could take away from and talk about. And it runs the gambit from comparing the defeat of Discord to the defeat of Bin Laden to wondering why Apple Bloom never got a cutie mark for making good tacos. Just like, what is the one thing that I can take away from that new episode and write about and make a funny gag about? And that could be, because it's all about that headline. If that headline is funny and that headline is relevant to the new episode, that's what we talk about. And some people have said this, when the new episodes stopped, it was almost liberating for us, because now we can just talk about whatever we want and we can be more silly, because you have to be more silly. Because if there's something new that happened, you can kind of just talk about it and people will read it because it's new. But if there's nothing new, you have to make up stuff and you have to be silly and you have to be more silly. And so I kind of go back both ways, which issues I like better. Because sometimes when it's new and it's fresh and you have to make up something immediately and make it funny, the timeliness of it makes it even better. But sometimes when you make up something completely random out of the middle of nowhere, it is, it's almost more empowering on that. So I'm excited about season 3 because we really never fell into our own as a video group. Moose and Techrat and me. We really solidified that relationship at the end of season 2. So I feel like we've got all of our tools in place and we can really shine for what season 3 is going to be. So I don't necessarily know if we can really define that, because I think what we're going to do in the future is going to be very different.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. I know when I was writing, it was at the tail end of season 2, and tail end, but and I was writing articles on the new episodes that would pop up, and that made it easy for me because I knew that was everybody was going to be talking about, because I like to have things be in the public mind, basically, if as far as whatever people are going to be reading, to have that at the forefront so they can get the joke, they can get that insight to it, and it'll still be fresh and it'll be timely. Which is why during these off-season months, I'm constantly referencing stuff that's going on in the news, anything that's going on, on the internet. I try to keep stuff, fresh that way. So looking forward to season 3, I'm really interested in seeing what that's going to happen. Now, of course, from what I've seen with season 2, all 3 of us managed to pick up on certain things, different, and they always seem to be different things on the inside of those episodes. Like, I'll take a look at, how the fact that, they've repaired this dam like 3, 4, 5 times already. Why isn't anybody, calling OSHA or the safety hazard, but everybody else will pick up on some other aspect of the show. And so I'm not too worried about that, as far as, the new episodes go. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to not having to struggle to find something that everybody will recognize.
You see, my situation is a little bit different, and actually coming into season 3, it's actually going to be a newer challenge for me, because when I first started writing for the print, and then when I started doing the videos, just because of my circumstances and the amount of time I had to work on the show every week, I couldn't do an episode, a bit based upon the newest episode. Like Joe mentioned, he would sit down, he'd watch the episode, and he would immediately start writing, and he would record the same day, and he would have everything done on Saturday. I tended to record my stuff on Thursdays at the time because that's when I could fit it in. So either I would be a week behind or I would have to come up with something completely off the wall and completely unrelated that had nothing to do with the new episode and just hope it was still funny. And in a lot of cases, what I would do is I would go back and I would mine season 1 for ideas. Like I would just go back and I would look for little things in season 1 that kind of stuck out for me. You know, I was looking for characters that we really hadn't focused on, or events that just struck me as odd. Like just for one example, that one scene in The Best Night Ever, where Soren is just digging into that pie of his, and I thought, well, what would happen if he just decided to ditch being a Wonderbolt and became a competitive eater instead? And so I just
great concept.
Yeah. So I just took that one scene, that one moment from that season 1 episode, and I built an article around that. And that's essentially what I had to do in most cases. The only one that
the concept has gone viral too. I think that's sort of like Fanon is that he really wants to be a competitive eater.
I think so. I think it has actually. The only time that I really tried to push that and actually try to do something current, like there were occasions where I could write a print article that was current. Like if I had an idea on a Saturday afternoon, I could whip that up quick and send it over. I've done that a few times. But for the video, probably the only time I ever tried to be current was for the wedding episode where I did a takeoff on Bridezillas called Bridalzillas.
Right, but it wasn't relevant to the plot of it.
It wasn't relevant to the plot at all.
It was going to be a wedding, and that was yeah.
And that's all I knew. And even that one was recorded 2 days before. So what I really want to try doing now, and especially since our recording schedule has kind of changed now. We have episodes that come out on Wednesdays now, but they used to come out on Sundays, which was just completely. I just couldn't do it and still keep it current. But now that the episodes are coming out on Wednesdays, I may have the opportunity to stay current with a new episode, just like Joe and Moose do. And that's going to be an interesting challenge.
Way to play catch up there, Tex.
Shut up.
I don't mind that we have like once a week. Like I'm talking about new stuff. Moose is talking about new stuff. We have one that's completely not just like the Pony Universe stuff. It's kind of grounding in a lot of ways because
it is. I mean, it does add variety. It does add variety because it's not all coming from the same episode. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how it goes. You know, if it works out that way and I end up just still doing it in that same fashion and people still like it, then that's what I'll do. You know, or if we can keep it all current, then we can do that. So I'm really interested to see how season 3 is going to play out for us.
Yeah, it's basically like Joe said. It doesn't matter if it's current or it doesn't matter if it's old. So long as it's funny, it's going in.
Right.
All right. Now we've already talked a little bit about the Mares in a Minute segment, but we haven't really gone into the horseshoes and hand grenades segment.
That's because it's not worth talking about.
What exactly went into that, and how did you come up with a name for that as well?
I wrote a list. I was trying. Go ahead.
No, go.
Go.
I wrote a list that was nothing but pony puns. I can't tell you how hard that is. Now, I actually volunteer my time at a horse rescue. So I actually have a good breadth of knowledge about, what the names of a horse, the different parts of a horse, the equipment of the horse, and all that kind of stuff. So I was able to write a good number of them. But I mean, 95% of them nobody was going to get.
Do you remember any of the other ones you came up with?
Oh my God, it was so
like somewhere. I mean,
yeah, it's I save them all. I'm not exactly sure. I think one of them was a past, turn, and present. It was terrible. I mean, show of hands, who knows what a past turn is?
I'm on dictionary.com. I can look it up.
So yeah, they were all way highbrow, and I was just like, you know what? I think I'm just gonna go with horseshoes and hand grenades because I only need to come close to to the truth here.
But it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Thank you. Yes, I knew that when I wrote it. But I think it worked. It was almost like, you know what? I'm not sure if I really like it, but I can always change it later and just take another name.
Nope.
But it really did stick. And now that I've recorded, 17 different lyrics for the opening song, I think it sort of has to stick. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think we might have lost Tech Rat.
Oh, yeah, I see the
well, that's okay. I think that we were talking about horseshoes and hand grenades.
Right, yeah. But that's the genesis of that name.
I mean, I looked at the list of names, and it was sort of like I wanted a name that was inherently funny. And that is an inherently funny name. Mares in a Minute is a pretty funny concept, and it's semi-serious. Horseshoes and hand grenades, just it's your show. It's something crazy, explosive, and weird relating to ponies is going to happen, and it's there.
And the image that we have for that, the overlay image, wasn't mine. Who did that? Was it Tech who drew that one?
I think Tech Rat made that.
Yeah, it was great. I remember watching my first one because I didn't expect an intro or anything like that. I just thought, and here's horseshoes and hand grenades. And then all of a sudden I see the image pop up there. I was like, oh my god, that's fantastic!
Horseshoes and hand grenades.
I should get it right on the first try. I'm back, by the way.
Good.
Hey.
And what an entrance! Yeah.
Yeah, and it cut me off just as I was telling you what pastern meant. Talk about suspense, right? In case anybody was wondering, it is a part of a horse's foot between the fetlock and the hoof.
Yep.
Yes.
I can't tell you how many times I've had to check those things for mud rot. But anyways, that's
I planned Skype to crash at that specific time just to build suspense.
All right, so tell us about China.
China is a land roughly 1.4 thousand
They
square
have
miles.
awesome tea.
Okay, the best I can tell you is I actually went over there for business. I actually have a real job, oddly enough. And while I was over there, I would just started working on the Equestrian Inquirer, and I just filmed a whole bunch of stuff, not knowing if I would use it or not. I was like, I'm in China. One day, I'm going to do an epic China episode. And I never got rolling around to it. 6 months later, I've got to go back again. And I'm like, all right, I'm actually going to go over the YouTube series is a success up to this point, or marginally successful. I'm actually going to come up with an idea and go there with the idea of doing that. And so when I went over there again, while I'm at this big industrial trade show, I'm walking around talking to people about ponies. Well, before I go into a business meeting, I talk to the cab driver about ponies. I was literally on my way to meet a business contact, and I ran up to a bunch of people on the street and asked them about ponies. Now, you can't do this in America, but it's okay to do it in China because it's not like they have rights or anything. So you just go and put their faces.
Exploiting the communist regime to your benefit.
Right, and the funniest part about it was, and I can talk about this because you know what? Screw you, China. I know you're monitoring my computer, and I really don't care. I got out of. No, the funny thing is, Hong Kong is not technically. I mean, they monitor themselves. So you.
Yeah, ever since 1999 when the British had to give it back. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, you can get YouTube and Facebook are illegal in China. But YouTube and Facebook are legal in Hong Kong, which is still technically part of China, but it's different. So I was on Twitter in Hong Kong, just got out of China. I was in customs, ripping on China on my Joe Stevens. Stupid Chinese, you tried to keep me down, just like ripping on them and saying all these things, pretending that I'm tweeting from China. And I'm like, ha, suckers, and just like all these horrible incidents of Rainbow Dashes being abducted, Rainbow Dashes causing thermonuclear war, so I do this, and the next day I get a call, and they're saying, oh, we need to come have a meeting, and you need to come back into the mainland, which means crossing the border back into China.
And you thought
you were a marked man at that point.
Delete. So I go to customs and I think, please don't ask about ponies. And so, a lot of that was filmed in Hong Kong. A lot of it was filmed in actual China. But yeah, I went over there for other reasons, and I just decided, wouldn't it be fun if I could do this? And oddly enough, you can be more brave running up to random strangers and talking about ponies when you know for certain that they do not speak English. And so you can be very brave in doing that sort of thing.
That's not brave, that's cowardice. I know that they can't talk back to me, yeah.
That's exploitive.
In America and film them as I talk to them about ponies, mainly because I'm not allowed to post that on YouTube, but because they could potentially sue me. But again, Chinese don't have rights, so I could if I do it in China, and I kind of wanted to do that concept. It was always a running gag that I was like, all right. And it was literally the only reason that we did this plot. And I thought it wouldn't be funny. Rainbow Dash is already declared a weapon of mass destruction. You know, we've got that. Let's expand upon.
It's been established within the universe. Yes.
It literally was a one-off gag. I said in one issue, I forget which one it was. I said Rainbow Dash has been recognized as a weapon of mass destruction by the Equestrian Armed Forces and the Chinese People's Liberation Army. The only reason I said that was because I think it's really funny to say anything and the Chinese People's Liberation Army. Like, this award in recognition of the most hot dog eating contest in honor of the Hot Dog Eating Federation and the People's Liberation Army of China. Like, you could put that as a tag to anything, and it's inherently funny. It's an inherently funny sentiment. But then I thought, like, wait, what if that actually happened? And I'm actually in China, so let's exploit this. Let's look into it. And so, you know, it was sort of like just it snowballed, and it became something that was actually one of our most well-received and really quite epic and awesome episodes.
It kind of put the cap on that first season because it brought the whole storyline full circle. Because you started the Equestrian Inquirer with that article, and then you ended the season with the conclusion of that story.
Right, and it was a good thing because we'd been doing way too many, or I'd been doing way too many, Rainbow Dash can blow you up.
Too many. Ponyville got destroyed this week. Let's find out how.
Right.
To this pony caught fire this week.
So I decided to stop doing that and focus more on Scootaloo can blow you up and kill you. So yeah, it was a good way of rounding out that plot.
She's got to emulate her idol somehow.
Yeah.
She's an up and comer.
Yeah.
All right, so now Tech Rat, let's talk about your 3 interns segment that you did.
Oh God. Do we have to? Do we really have to?
Oh my God. I really do think.
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Okay, I was like, I really did think that you were going to get so much heat from the community for your treatment of the replacement interns.
Well, it wasn't that the way I was treating them. It was the way they were treating me, you know?
I mean, you had amazing voice actresses. I mean,
they
said it was just great.
Absolutely. The way they carried those segments was just fantastic. I mean, when I was doing the Fluttershy one, for example, I had to fight not to daw. You know, through that entire thing. I mean, and especially since I was supposed to be mean and nasty to her in the script. And for those of you who don't know, we actually got the fan voice artist Bree Faith to do the voice of Fluttershy. And when she sent me the copy, when she sent me the lines, I was just totally blown away. I mean, she does a spot on Fluttershy. I mean, it's nearly show accurate, and it's just unbelievable. And I'm like, I can't act against this. I just cannot do it. I am so out of my league with this. So, and even the same with the other ones too. We had a fantastic voice actress do Derpy. Actually, Derpy was Moose's sister.
Yes, that's right.
Moose has a resource pool of aspiring voice actors, which he likes to pull from every so often, and he helps us out on occasion with it too. So Derpy was Moose's sister, and Trixie in the third episode, the third bit of that series was a friend of his as well.
She's actually a Shakespearean actress who is looking to bust into the cartoon world, go from Shakespeare to Tiny Toons.
and I got her to read voices of an arrogant unicorn who was emulating the Emperor from Return of the Jedi, so that was awesome.
Which she had never watched before, actually.
She had never watched it, really?
Yeah, she'd never watched any of the Star Wars except for the first one, and so I had to explain the scene. I was fanboying out on Star Wars, explaining it to a person who had never seen it, so that she could get a pony voice right. I mean, the fandoms were colliding here.
This is what we do. But the whole idea behind that was that near the end of the first season, we're calling it, sort of like leading into the China episode, I had created this character called Evil Tech Rat. And the whole idea was that during the time that Joe was in China, and we actually came up with this idea out of necessity, because during the time that Joe was in China, he couldn't host the show. So we had 1 week where he was going to be completely out of the country, and we had to do something to fill the time that he normally would have filled in with his own segments. And around the same time, we actually had a fan who had suggested something in the IRC chat on Everfree Radio, and he said, why don't you guys do an episode where you switch places? Have Tech Rat host the show and have Joe do the Mares in a Minute segment. And we were talking on Facebook, and we're like, well, this would be perfect, because then you could do a really quick bit from China. I'll do the main segments, and we'll just flip-flop it, and then we can actually fill out the episode. And then I thought about it a little bit. I'm like, well, what happens if Tech Rat likes hosting the show so much that he wants to keep doing it? And he realizes that the only way to be able to keep doing it is to make sure Joe never leaves China. so that's
almost accomplished on my own.
Yeah, you almost got stuck in there for real.
Yeah, Chinese intelligence now considers pony to be code for freedom or something like that.
Exactly.
I can only hope. That's my small contribution to world peace.
So anyway, I developed this whole thing where he just turns evil and comes up with all of these ridiculous schemes to try to keep him in China, and the character continued to be a jerk after that. And I wanted to kind of get the character back to more of like just a silly, goofy character, like the way he was in the beginning, always, making fun of himself and acting silly. And at the same time, we really wanted to start involving some other talent as well. We really wanted to bring in like voice actresses and really add some, some variety and flavor to the show. And those two things sort of like came together. I'm like, well, what if he has to learn a lesson? Well, what if he has to be taught something to kind of like learn the error of his ways? And I started thinking like this whole Ebenezer Scrooge kind of thing, with like the three ghosts type of thing. And I thought, well, what if it's three ponies? One after the other, and each of them, Fluttershy teaches kindness, Derpy teaches patience, and Trixie teaches, I don't know what I was thinking with Trixie, but that kind of fell together too.
Your Trixie lust just kicked in. He was like, I just have to
I just had to throw it at the end, I think. And that's kind of where it came from. It actually, to a certain extent was sort of like trying to develop the character. And then at the same time, just looking for opportunities to involve other people in the show. And it scared me to death doing that because when I was writing the scripts, I started realizing, I was like, what, this is starting to focus less on the show and more on my character. And I started to get very self-conscious about it. And at one point, I even I came very close to just scrapping the whole idea entirely. I'm like, why don't I just wrap this up with like a phone call? He patches things up with his intern in a phone call, and we just go from there. Because I started to think that it was too self-indulgent. And I was
this
really,
before or after you got everybody else involved?
This was before. This was when I had finished writing. Yeah, I get everybody to contribute 110%. You know what? I'm going to scrap it, guys. I'm going to wrap it up in a 2-minute phone call. Thanks for playing. No, this was before. This was after I'd written the scripts, but before I brought the talent in. And I was really, self-conscious about it. And, I was asking around and what I was hearing from people I had told the stories to was that, we had gotten to the point where the Equestrian Choir was starting to become its own thing, with its own backstory and with its own characters. And they were saying, the fans are going to be just as interested about what happens to those characters as they are interested in what happens, with the ponies on the actual show. So they said, give it a shot, take a chance and see what happens. But they said they think it'll go over well. So I went ahead and I decided to just go ahead with it anyway, and I did the 3 episodes, and from what I could tell, they were very well received. I know the Fluttershy episode, I did sort of like a parody of her training montage from Hurricane Fluttershy, where I had to learn kindness in a training montage, and apparently that was a big hit. So yeah, that's sort of where it came from, and all is said and done. I'm glad I did it. Those were really, really hard to put together because trying to coordinate the timing with talking to a recording takes a lot of effort and a lot of work, and I won't be doing that kind of bit again for a while. But I personally think I'm really proud of them. I'm really proud of the way they came out.
All right. Tell us about the recent freelance episode.
We've always done ever since the Gravy Inquirer. I said every 10 issues, I say I get enough freelance where I say I'm just going to do everything that I've gotten for this last 10 issues that I haven't been able to post here's everything. And so it gives everyone a chance to participate. Back in the day, it was I want everyone to have a chance to have at least one article get published, and so we did that. And so we had talked about saying, okay, well, we've literally done that every 10 issues, so it was kind of a thing. But then we're like, oh, hey, check it out. Why don't we do where we do the scripts from freelance? We'll take the good ones and we'll use those in our freelance videos. And I think me and TechRat sort of had the easy way out, where we said let's take these and let's be creative with them. My original idea was to have someone else that I'd find randomly on the street and be like, hey, you read this, and it would be kind of funny. Someone who was like, reading it, but I couldn't find any volunteers, and so I pretended that I found volunteers for my bit,
and it was very convincing. I would have never done it.
I'm a cowboy, and then of course TechRat had we all had those things, but I think that Moops had the more interesting bit, because we stole all of the actual ones and we said you make up one.
Oh, it was funny because Joe's like, Steve, do you want any of these articles? And Steve's like, yeah, I'll take one. Then Joe's like, too late, I already did bits for all of them.
Right? Yeah.
Why did you even offer?
With no option, yeah.
Yeah.
So I, at that point, was like, okay, well, you know what? I'm just gonna make a fake one. The actual one that I did for the show was not actually sent into us. So I'm hoping that people aren't thinking that some poor guy got his article written, thought it was great, sent it in there, and then had me destroy it. No, that was actually all out of my work. I did seek some inspiration on film fiction for but beyond that, I actually, the one thing that really did come from that one, I won't say what film fiction it was, because I don't want to embarrass everybody, but the reason I say comma, comma, comma at the beginning of every paragraph is because somehow this guy was hitting the comma button instead of the space bar in order to make like an indentation. And so I was like, well, I'm already reading every spelling error, and I'm reading every truncated sentence. So I'll go ahead and I'll read that one as well. So I decided to make one up, make a bad freelance issue, and read it as completely straight faced and deadpan and as literal as I possibly could. And then it was like, okay, well, I need some images as well. Well, they would have to be 4 images. Let me hand draw those in MS Paint with the mouse. And that was something that I had not done since I was in like 5th grade. and there's a good reason. I mean, I want to tell people I can actually kind of draw. I actually have a little bit of talent when it comes to that. So those images that you see up there are purposefully done bad. And then oh my god, I started doing Ranbu Dash.
Ranbu Dash.
Ranbu Dash kept going up there. I kept misspelling it the same way over and over again. And for some reason, that specific image, stood out in my mind. That one came to me right at the moment that I had said that name. Everything else, went through a different genesis, but Ranbu Dash was right there in front of my mind as I was doing that. I tell you, I started recording with Kelsey Painter. Kelsey Painter was the voice of Ranbu Dash on that one. She's also the Shakespearean actress. I can't tell you how embarrassing it is to have a trained Shakespearean actress read this horrible.
How much better it is that she does it, though. I mean,
I'd love to see video of that, her doing that.
I want to hear Patrick Stewart say the most ridiculous thing. That's exactly what makes our bits good. Is you have people taking ridiculously serious delivery of horrendously stupid things.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And now of course luckily though she's got a great sense of humor, and she was dying as she's reading these things. So I have a whole gag reel, saved up for future reference. But I was compiling the video that night, and it was 3:00 in the morning because I had to do this thing like real late, right off the cuff. I filmed it late. I wrote it late. I was compiling it late. It's 3:00 in the morning, and I'm putting her voice over top of this image, and I couldn't keep myself from laughing. And so it was at that point where, if some things they look funny, to you only. Some things, if you can get another person laughing, that's great. If they can keep you laughing later on after you've said, okay, I'm done with this thing, if you can laugh later at that, then you hit something good there. And I think that one was one of the stronger episodes that we all did. I think everybody had a great episode, that one.
All right, tell us about joining Everfree Radio.
That's a pretty easy one. We basically said we want to be interviewed by more people, and we said that I actually reached out to some of the people in the community that were having podcasts, and I said, hey guys, would you like to interview us? We're getting some headway with the community. We're getting kind of recognition. We want to kind of bring our name out there a little bit more. And so I sent out an email to Final Draft, and I said, hey, do you want, would it be possible that we could talk on Everfree Radio at some point? And he emailed me back. He said, I'll do you one better. How would you like to join our network? And he had just started this new idea that he was going to have syndicated, may not be the right word, but he was going to distribute either already made or soon to become programs that would be updated every week and have a slot. They'd premiere live. And he said, I want you to do exactly what you've been doing, but instead of premiering it on a Monday, I want you to premiere it on Wednesday and premiere it live on Everfree Radio. And so it was in retrospect it makes complete sense, but it was just me saying, hey, can we get some coverage? And he said, how about instead you guys completely join in with our umbrella? And
it was basically like, walking up to a newscaster saying, hey, can you guys, put my, interview me for something. He was like, I'll do you one better. I'll make you an anchor.
That's pretty much how it went down. Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty easy. I mean, it was sort of like, he wanted us to do everything we've been doing, but it's because we already had our own ideas of the show being completely PG, completely in line with the show. So we sort of already fit the ideals of what Everfree Radio was trying to accomplish. So it basically said that, it aligned us with the right people. And so it feels like we're not just kind of flying solo anymore, which is...
Yeah, now we have the giant poster of Final Draft over our workstations that we have to...
Great leader draft.
Exactly, yes. We have to sing anthems to his picture every morning.
Yes, indeed.
All right, with that, tell us about your experience at BronyCon, covering such a huge convention, getting to interview pretty much everybody, I believe.
Right. It started out where we had all kind of wanted to go to BronyCon. We'd heard about it. Draft comes up to us and said, here's the deal, guys. I'm going to live stream it, and I want you guys in front of the camera hosting the BronyCon coverage. And we were like, sweet. And so I thought we were going to be the guys who, in between panels, tells you what happened at the panel, what's the next panel, and we're going to cover from the floor. Basically sort of like when you're watching golf, in between the people hitting the ball, or when you're watching baseball, in between the people are actually, playing the sport, there's people giving, commentary and coverage. There's a host.
We're the background organ music that causes people to shout charge. Yeah.
Right.
Like we'd be sitting behind a table reading off of a paper. This is what just happened. Here's what's coming up next. Have a nice day. And then we'd be done.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's not the way it went down.
We did that too.
A little bit.
Showed up, and the roaming camera live internet feed did not work. Like the first time we turned it on, it did not work. We were gonna just be like roaming around the entire time, and we wanted it to feel like you were there. You're at your computer, but everyone wanted to be at BronyCon, but they couldn't be there. So the next best thing is to sit there watching it on your computer. We wanted to give them that experience. Well, that didn't work out, but
we failed, basically. Yes, we failed at our goal.
The internet did not work. We recorded all of that stuff, so you could retrospectively look back at it. But when we got there, it was sort of like, well, and while we're there, wouldn't it be cool if we can interview some people? And we thought, that's cool. And then all of a sudden, Moose shows up the first day with a clipboard and said, all right, I got an interview with Andrea Libman. I got an interview with Megan McCarthy. I got an interview with, all these, and like, we said Tech Rat and I are going to host the thing, and we're like, sorry, Moose. I mean, it's kind of like a 2-man show. We think. I mean, if we had 3 people, we can include you like on every once in a while, but we sort of want the 2 headliners.
And I was fine with that because I had only been with you guys. I think I had done like 3 episodes with you guys at that point, and so, yeah.
You were
not even. I think it was like we had just done one when we started talking about BronyCon.
Right.
It was like one episode you were actually shown, and all of a sudden we're like, you're coming with us to the convention.
Exactly.
And we started sucking you into Skype calls and talking about it. It was just, I mean, it was a whirlwind for you because you had just started.
It really was. Yeah, I had gotten in there. In fact, yeah, I had done one video, and then the next week's video was cut because of China.
Yes. Yeah.
And so we wanted you to be our director. And you were like, cool. And so we showed like,
I thought just meant being like a gopher, like, okay, get me a bottle of water. My voice is parched, that type of thing.
And so tell them about how you got, I loved your story about how you got our first interview.
Well, I had shown up that morning, I had, resigned, I had it in my head that I was just going to be behind the scenes, taking care of any sort of technical issues that would come up and making sure that the show ran smoothly. We had asked about interviews, and the response about interviews were like, if you can get them, great. I mean, I thought that there were things lined up already, that all I had to do was like confirm schedules. No, there was nothing. Joe and Tech were taking the live with our cameraman, Heatwave. They had gone off and they were filming some other stuff, and they were like, Steve, go ahead and see if you can't line up some interviews for us. And I was like, okay. Now, for those people who are not familiar with me, I actually have a very low opinion of crowds. I don't react well to them. I'm much more just running off into the woods in open country, just sitting by myself type of person. So I'm in the middle of the crowd, and I'm walking down there, and I'm really worried that I'm not going to be able to actually speak to anybody because, I mean, I'm terrified of this right now. And so I'm walking by the autograph desk, and I see Amy Keating Rogers coming out from the little backdrop that they had there. And I had recognized her from the internet. I had done the research basically for this. I had seen, looked up who all the voice actors were and all that kind of stuff. So I had recognized her, and I was like, I looked at it and I was like, if I don't do this now, I'm never going to do this, and I will have failed Joe and Tech.
I am so I didn't even know this. I thought you were complete. Like I was shocked beyond belief. I mean, I feel sorry in retrospect that
we put you through this.
We had no idea that we would get even one interview, and then just So go ahead and continue. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so I turned towards her, and with a brick sitting in my gut, managed to squeak out the words, hi, I'm with the Equestrian Inquirer. We're doing the live free, free radio. We're doing a live stream. Could you maybe give us an interview, please? Oh my God, please don't face me. I was totally expecting, because I did not know how you were supposed to approach people like this. If this would be considered blindsiding them, if I was violating convention rules, that security was gonna, carry me away and say, you're not supposed to do this, I was mortified at that fact, but I managed to just dig deep and squeak out a request, and I am so thankful to her, because immediately she said, oh, absolutely, I would love to do that. If she had said no, I think that would have been the end of things right there and then. I don't think I could have worked on the
You really lucked out, too, because she is the most kind person in the world.
She really is. Yeah. I mean, she's very sweet, very kind, very understanding, and in real life, she's an amazing person all around. So I was like, oh, good. I'm just recoiling from the fact that I did not get smacked in the face. So I pull out my notebook and I start writing down. I was like, okay, well, we can do this at this time. And so she was like, oh, fantastic. Just let me know, let me my hand push know. And so I was like, oh, fantastic. And then after that, I was like, that sort of broke the dam at that point. I was like, you know what? I did it once. I can do it again. I basically started stalking the autograph area Luckily I had the press badge, which got me past the security, and they were like, oh yeah, absolutely, come on in there. I started talking to Asians. I started talking to the cast and people directly, and everybody was so accommodating during that time that it really went. It was beyond all my expectations. So I started writing down names, writing down times, and then so I started going back to Joe and Tech. And they were like, okay, what do you got for us, Steve? I was like, oh, I got half voice cast, two-thirds voice cast.
And we just kind of stopped and looked at him, and we're just shaking our heads. It just blew us away.
It was so spellbinding that we were there. We were like, hey, I literally said, go see if you can get an interview, like on the off chance that maybe, probably not, it's going to. And then all of a sudden we're interviewing everyone, and it's sort of like. What was funny was apparently if you do fake videos of fake newscasts, it qualifies you to do real videos of real news at an actual newsworthy thing. And it's and so it was frightening for Tech Rat and I because we had to make up questions on the fly. We had no idea what was going on, and it got to the point where Steve was, when you started out this, you did not look like you were as shocked as you claimed to be, because I remember you walked up like a Hollywood producer with your clipboard, and
he had a swagger. He had a swagger walking up to us that day. Guess who I got for you guys at 11:30?
And then we're standing there in front of the camera. We're like on cue, ready to go, and he's just escorting Tara Strong to us and stuff, chatting with her as she's walking and such. But
like all you youngsters out there, if you don't have confidence, fake it.
Exactly, and that's
seriously, you're absolutely right because neither of us. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, no, neither of us knew what we were doing. My favorite, I think I can conclude the question with my absolute favorite story from BronyCon, which was, this is the second day, and Steve Moose had been doing a really, really good job and gotten his swagger down.
Got the swag on.
We just got done with Megan McCarthy. I can't remember who the interview was, but he comes up.
Peter New, I think, as well.
Yeah, Megan McCarthy and Peter New. He comes up to us and he says, guys, I got an interview with the BronyCon documentary crew for you. And we were like, oh, good. We've been looking forward to that. And so we're like, who exactly are we going to be interviewing? He said, well, I don't know. They just said the BronyCon documentary crew. And so we go back to the VIP area where there's this staircase that leads up to the VIP green room. And we're standing there waiting for who we're going to interview. And one of the BronyCon documentary crew guys comes over and he says, okay, we're going to get you set up in the green room. We're going to be talking to these people. And he said, excuse me, I actually need to ask you, we haven't been told who exactly we're going to be interviewing. What are their names? And he says, oh, you're talking to John. And we're like, what? And literally at that moment, we turn around and here comes John Delancey walking down the stairs. So that was the time it took from John Delancey to walk down one flight of stairs with the time that Tech Rat and I had to prepare for that interview, because we had no idea that we were going to be able to do that interview. And so
we were totally blindsided by that.
Frightened,
I mean, of all the interviews of that weekend, that was the one we should have been the most prepared for. We should have had questions done hours in advance. We had nothing. We were scrambling right then and there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was frightening, but it was so much fun. And so it was.
It turned out really well too. I mean, I was with the amount of production time that you had to sort of scramble for that. The way you guys were able to riff and improv, and come up with stuff there, which is why, you sort of like, oh man, Steve was swaggering up to us. I could not comprehend the amount of professionalism and bravado that you guys were able to conjure up. You guys said that you were terrified about.
It was all.
I was blown away by what you guys.
It was all chutzpah. It was all bunk. I mean, you get to the point where you're in the situation and it's something you have never done before, and you have two choices. You can either curl up in a fetal position and look like a moron, or you can just buckle up and do it. And
I've taken that option several times before.
We had the suits on, so that helped too. We can buy in a suit, and you're not, and so that gives me help.
Exactly. I think some people were actually a little intimidated by that, as a matter of fact, because we were the only guys in suits at the con. I think even John Delancey was a little intimidated by it, to be honest.
But he after the interview, he's like, you guys are wearing suits, you got microphones, this guy's snapping at me.
I feel a little underdressed, coming up here. So yeah, we were able to intimidate them, which gave us the upper hand.
Yeah, it allows us to make them think we know what we're doing.
Right. Yeah.
That's exactly right.
And now, not only do you get these interviews and you get the coverage of the convention, but you also happen to get these just strange occurrences that happen at the convention, and you are able to, talk about the news with the fire, and you get.
Oh yeah, that's the awesome thing about going to these conventions is you never know what is going to happen.
Well, the funny thing is, go ahead. Yeah. I might say that the John Delancey is my favorite interview story, but this is my favorite story of the entire con. We literally got done with John Delancey, and we're walking down, and we say, "Sorry, John, but we kind of have to rush. We've got Andrea Libman waiting in the other green room. We've got to."
And how great is that sentence?
That sentence.
Oh yeah.
So we're walking out, but John wants to come with us, and so John is walking around unescorted around the con, and I'm just kind of like, "This is kind of cool." We're walking alongside John Delancey, and people flooding towards us. But they flood around John and keep going. And we're like, what's going on? They're just flooding. They're not flooding John Delancey. They're ignoring him. And he's kind of looking around like, what is going, why are they not harassing me? And, then all of a sudden I ask people, like, why are they not talking to John? He's like, oh, they're evacuating the building. There's a fire. And I say, what? He said, yeah, there's a fire back there on the main panel. And I'm like, okay, decision time. Nope, easy decision. I turned to Heat and I said, there's a fire that way. Let's go. And he's yelling at me. I'm like, nah, keep going. We're going. And so he's using his tripod to shove his way through the crowd, and I'm leading, and I grab him, actually. I put him in front of us. Use the tripod to shove your way through. And I'm like, you cannot turn around. And so I'm preventing him from running away. And I'm going, Joe, what are you doing? Like, no, use the tripod. Shove your way through. So we shove his way back to the crowd. And
knocking old ladies and children out of the way.
Say, put the camera there. And Tech Rat says to me, Joe, we shouldn't be doing this. I said, we are doing this. Put the camera there. And Tech Rat's my favorite line. Tech Rat says, Joe, this is crazy. I say, yes, it is, and we're going to be filming it. and so we set it in front of the camera, and the first thing that Tech Rat says was, we turn on the camera, was, we should not be here.
But then again, we are insane, so.
At me. And I'm like, don't look at me. If this building falls down upon us, we're going to film every second of it. And so it was not nearly that catastrophic, and that kind of helped. That you looked at it, it's not that big of a deal. It's just a little fire. If we were in actual danger, I probably.
In crisis situations, Joe turns into Napoleon. You just have to follow.
Join or die, essentially.
And you grow kind of aware when there is something that people want to pay attention to. You want to be a part of it, and the fact that we knew that just a camera in front of a burning building is kind of interesting. But a camera
as the header for several of our articles, actually.
Right, yeah. But a camera in front of the burning building with people talking about it is much more interesting, and cracking jokes about it. And what are your thoughts on the burning building behind you? That sort of thing. We felt like we could take ownership of it and make it something more than just, oh look, a burning building. And I think that we did. It's the reason why our video of the fire is by far the most popular on YouTube. It was just, we were prepared. And one of the things is Draft prepared us for that. He said, Final Draft said, it's going to be a chaotic weekend. All I have to say is if something crazy goes down, keep the camera on and film it. And we kind of lived by that statement.
Yeah.
And we almost died by it as well, but
Exactly, yeah. Dear leader almost got us killed.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, so now let's move on to Everfree Northwest, and I'm going to throw a curveball at you. How did it differ from BronyCon, and which one did you think was better?
Oh, that's a loaded question right there.
That is tough.
Because I've kind of controlled this for a bit.
Yeah, you have. Well,
Step down, Joe.
Yeah, stop talking for a while, buddy. Well, the interesting thing about Everfree Northwest is that it just seemed like a very more it was a more intimate environment. I mean, the convention wasn't nearly as large as BronyCon. It didn't feel quite as chaotic, although I know that there were a lot of issues that they had, like with registration and such. But to me, the convention just...
That's because it wasn't on fire.
Well, right. I'm sure if people started burning their badges, we would have been in there filming it. But it just seemed to me like the convention was a little bit more laid back, a little bit more low key. Like people were just kind of more relaxed than they were at BronyCon, to me anyway. With the only exception to that being Pony Stock, where just people were going totally insane. But it really was just it's hard to explain.
I think, yeah, and also because I think that when we went to BronyCon, it was an adventure. We had to prove ourselves. You know, we had no idea what was going to happen, and all this transcendent thing awesome happens.
I think you're absolutely right about that. And once we hit Everfree Northwest, we kind of found our groove. You know, at BronyCon, we went in there, you know, just anxious and panicking, and we found our groove. At Everfree Northwest, we already knew what we were going to do, so we just kind of got there and we're like, we're going to do this again. Yeah, we're going to do it again. Okay, let's do it. And we just sort of like picked up where we left off, and we just sort of just started doing, you know, our shtick again. And I guess maybe that also contributed to just like more of a relaxing atmosphere and more of a fun atmosphere as well. I think with Everfree Northwest, we felt, because we had already proven ourselves at BronyCon, that we sort of had a license to just kind of come out of our shells even more and start inserting a lot of the silliness that we have in our show into our coverage of the convention. And you can see the difference between our interviews from BronyCon and the interviews from Everfree Northwest. When you watch our BronyCon interviews, I mean, there's a little bit of banter, there's a little bit of silliness, but we're mostly playing it straight. We're mostly doing straight interviews. We're talking straight with con-goers or dealers or whatever. At Everfree Northwest, we made an effort, because we were so comfortable with doing it, to try to add more silliness to things. You know, our interview with Nicole Oliver, we did entirely through Twitter questions. And these were questions that Joe and I had no idea what they were going to be going into it. So, you know, we're asking Nicole, you know, questions like, you know, what's her favorite shampoo? You know, if you're a tree, what kind of tree would you be? You know, and we rolled with that because we thought,
and God bless her, she had answers to everything.
And she had good answers to it as well. She's got to be a mustard connoisseur or something. It's unbelievable. And I think for the guests as well, because a lot of them had done things with us before. Nicole had talked with us before. So we felt comfortable with saying, you know, Nicole, we want to do something a little bit different. We want to be a little bit sillier. And we felt like we had the license to do that. You know, with Peter New, we did the interview in his bathroom while he was shaving off half of his beard. I don't think we could have done that at BronyCon. I think if we walked up to him and said, "Hi, can we come into your bathroom?" he probably would have called the cops on us. But at Everfree Northwest,
I would have.
Well, actually, no, that was his idea at Everfree Northwest. Actually.
Right, and I think the ultimate difference between BronyCon and Everfree was when BronyCon, when we had Tara Strong, she walks in, she's like, I've only got a little time. I've been doing autographs. And, you know, hi guys, and we were just like going, it's Tara Strong. And then Everfree Northwest, we walk in on her, and she goes, "Oh, hi guys, how are you?"
And it's all like hugs and happiness, and it's like, oh.
She recognized us.
It was hilarious. I was going up to you know, get her schedule, get her arranged for our interview, and you know, I was like, I don't know if you remember us. Question inquiries. He was like, "Oh yeah, of course." I was like, you know, so I was getting the times down there, and of course, you know, I won't be doing the interview. It'll be Joe and Tech. Do you remember that? And she was like, "Oh yeah, those bloody wankers." Affected a British accent for some reason, and so yeah. But I would say that Everfree Northwest was a different kind of terror for me. Because
we tried to drag you in front of the camera this time for some.
Oh God, which is a huge mistake and should never be attempted again. But for BronyCon, it was the terror of not knowing. For Everfree Northwest, it was the terror of having expectations.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because with BronyCon, we were new to the whole scene. You know, we had done our segments, you know, videotaped, all this kind of stuff. This was the first time we would be in front of a live audience.
Kind of the first time that people get to meet the people we're interviewing too.
Exactly. You know, you're working through the starstruckness of the entire thing. You know, I mean, these people are just, you know, names on a page, faces on TV, you know, voices that you hear, you know, from a cartoon show, voices that you've been listening to, like in the case of Tara Strong, since you've been, you know, old enough to appreciate cartoons for what they were and appreciate what voice actresses do. And so to be in that presence was, you know, fairly overwhelming. With Everfree Northwest, it's like, okay, how do we top that? How do we go on beyond that? I mean, before nobody was expecting anything of us. Now we actually have a job to do. This is terrible. And so I was.
Why couldn't we have sucked at BronyCon? Why couldn't we have sucked at BronyCon?
Do one, set the bar low, and then just get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
Going up to the people again was a little. It wasn't as intimidating before because, and again, luckily. We managed to break the ice fairly early. Thursday night, we had dinner with Peter New, which was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, Hero was, sitting, there with again, I was working myself up into a frenzy thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And then up rocks, Dusty Cat and Joe, with Peter New and Joe. And everybody's like, yeah, we're just going to go out, have some dinner, have some beers. And that totally put me at ease at that point, as far as, going up to people because, Peter New apparently is a NASA fanboy. Who would have known?
Oh yeah, it was kind of funny, that whole dinner was just a lifetime affirming experience. I mean, it was just so much fun. First of all, because I'm with Dusty Cat. Second of all, because I'm with Moose. And third of all, I'm with Peter New. So we actually just we were a bunch of having fun,
Right.
kind of guys. I mean, beyond the whole appreciation for the show and everything. And so, but being a kind of person that the voice actors and the creators are comfortable with saying, all right, these guys aren't going to be jerks. And we can talk. It made us, BronyCon was just the high of something you'd never done before, and Everfree we're kind of in, and it's all right. We are cashing in on something that we've kind of deserved and earned, and so now we're kind of like the guys, and so let's have fun being the guys.
Exactly. Yes, and it was able to, everybody was able to roll with it. Everybody was able to do that. But it was also one of those things where it's like, okay, we've asked, these questions before. What other questions are left to ask these people? Because sometimes, people like, Wes Anderson or Woody, people who haven't really given interviews before. That was easy because at least I'm assuming for Joe and Tech it was easy.
Woody was my favorite interview. Mainly because he made Ed and Eddie.
Right, and the fact that you have a golden shrine to him in your office, sort of indicates.
See photos of it yet, not properly emplaced.
But for people like with Tara, who let's just put it mildly, enjoys time in front of the camera, who have given so many interviews, it was difficult to come up with stuff that would be interesting, that would be fresh, and that people would not have already heard from somewhere else. So that was the other, sort of difficult part for it. BronyCon is, you're always going to remember your first time. It's always going to have that magical sort of aspect to it. Everfree, you sort of start seeing this as a growing period where it's more of a, okay, like I said, we're falling into our groove, we're getting this working out now, and we're learning the tricks of the trade.
Right.
All right. So with that said, we went over both of the conventions and you talking about pretty much anybody you could get within a foot's distance of. Is there anyone you haven't talked to that you would like to have the chance?
Lauren Faust herself.
No, Lauren Faust herself is definitely number one. I think number two is Ashley Ball, of course.
Unfortunately, so.
Tabitha's up there as well.
Yeah.
We kind of wanted to get Tabitha. We've been told that she doesn't do interviews, and so we weren't really expecting it. So, that we kind of walked in knowing that wasn't likely to happen. But Ashley, hasn't been coming to convention. And of course, Lauren Faust I'd be head over heels.
Yeah, I was so close. To having Lauren Faust at BronyCon. But I actually managed to talk with her brother. We actually struck up a conversation because I thought he was like her agent or something. He's like, no, I'm just her brother. And so we are actually having a pretty long conversation about, just the industry, voice acting industry itself, how and the whole cartoon business. And so he actually brought me up to her, which was amazing, just family member introducing you to Lauren Faust. He's like, hey, this guy over here, he was wondering if we could do a little bit of an interview. He's a cool guy. And I was like, please don't say I'm a cool guy. Totally not. But she was like, oh, I am so sorry, I really am, but I'm totally booked throughout this entire day. My schedule is just so crammed that I really don't think I'm going to be able to squeeze anything in. I was like, I totally understand. Thank you so much for even considering me. And so I was that close. I was actually speaking with her about that. Everybody else I either talked to, directly, managed to get, one way or another, or was told right off the bat that it's pretty much going to happen. But I was so close to Lauren. That's the one that got away,
Yeah.
Tabitha seems like she would be just an absolute scream to interview. I mean, she just seems, totally goofy, off the wall. I've read some stuff with her. I've seen some stuff that she's done before, and I really, really wish that we were able to talk with her. And I definitely need to talk to her after she ruined my life with the whole, hey, look, there's a moose thing. We've got some words to exchange, Tabitha.
Well, that's partially Final Draft's fault too, because he's the one who tied it to you.
Right, that's right. Yeah. Oh my God, yeah. I keep bringing this up. It's like I didn't say more than 15, 20 words during the entire convention, other than what I needed to do to get stuff done. And the one time I actually speak up, I use it to shout at Tabitha.
That was like a defining moment of the convention.
I know. That was, oh my God.
Why did you ruin my life?
And so, of course, I feel so bad because she is a bit, skittish about doing this type of thing, and she's sort of a last minute addition, and there's just this guy in a suit screaming at her about why he ruined her life. I can't imagine.
And she actually apologized to you later in a statement that she made about the convention.
I saw that. Yeah.
Did you see that?
The question daily. Yeah, I actually got how she was like, "Oh, sorry, Moose, about making you the elephant in the room." And I was like, "Oh God, I did it enough that it stands out, and she hates me now."
Yes.
Oh my God, that moose thing. Which, by the way, I saw the Hey There's a Moose shirt at We Love Vine, and
Yes.
that one has been bought. It's on its way to me right now. I had to own that one.
All right, well, this summer is definitely not done with conventions. There's so many more that are coming up later on. Are there any more that you're planning on attending, and are you going to be covering those like you did the other two?
Oh, good question.
I would. You will likely. This is the last until probably BronyCon 2013 that you will see the full Equestrian Inquirer Everfree Radio coverage. We went all out for BronyCon and Everfree Northwest. If we do coverage, it will be much lower in production than these two. I believe that I am most likely going to be at Midwestria, but that's about it.
Yeah, that was. We actually still need to discuss some things regarding the remaining conventions of this year.
Yes,
but
indeed.
Yeah, we actually at near the end of Everfree Northwest, we were approached by Canterlot Gardens, and we had sort of tossed around the idea before they had come to us directly of attending, and it's just one of those things where we're not quite sure if we're going to be doing it. I mean, if I had my choice, I would be attending all of these conventions.
Draft did the same thing to us at BronyCon. We had no intention of going to Everfree Northwest, and at the end of BronyCon, Final Draft comes over, puts his arm around my shoulder, and says, "Here, Joe. This is the head of Everfree Northwest. I want you to talk to him."
Yep.
And lo and behold, we ended up going to Everfree Northwest. And then at the end of Everfree Northwest, Draft comes and puts his arm around me and says, "Joe, this is the head of Canterlot Gardens. I want to introduce each other." And I look at Draft and I say, "Really?" Are you doing this again?
Dude has a way. Yes.
of being convincing about that type of thing.
We'll see at all the major conventions, you will see a presence of Everfree Radio of some kind.
Yes, that is assured.
So whether it's, you will not, I can pretty much assure you that you will not see the entirety of the EQI cast at any of these shows, but you will likely see someone from EQI at most of these shows. The least likely is probably Equestria LA, but you know, Canterlot Gardens, we might have someone there. Midwest area, we might have someone there. But Everfree Radio is going to have a presence of some kind.
All right. This one's actually about the books. Joe Stevens, Mox Alama, and Chris and Cinder. Tell us about those.
Oh, I would love to.
You want me to talk about my own works? Well, let me tell you something.
I want to talk about my novels. Yes, my novel is now for sale. It's called Chris and Cinder. It's a sci-fi novel exclusively on Kindle. You can buy it. You don't need to own a Kindle. Go to Amazon.com, type in Chris and Cinder, Krys and Cinder, and it is 99 cents. But yes, I am a novelist. That is what I like to do in addition to having a full-time job and doing a pony fan site. I started
I don't have time for any two of those things is a wonder to me.
Massive alcohol consumption, I would say. But I intend to be Ernest Hemingway. But it is a passion of mine to do writing, and I write the Equestrian Inquirer because I like to write. And so the novels are a way of my shameless self-promotion, utilizing the Equestrian Inquirer as an advertising platform to promote my own books.
So we're just commercials to you, Joe? That's all we are is monkeys to dance around and shill your products?
Completely exploiting this fandom to promote my I love this fandom. I love participating in it, and I'm going to write novels no matter what, and so it's sort of like, well, while I'm at it, I might as well do this. And so the Joe Stevens Moxalama was an experimentation to see if I could take the character of Joe Stevens and put him into a story that was a true story of me going to Peru, and see if I could just make it silly and work. And it worked. People loved it. And Chris and Cinder was a book I'd actually written a year ago, tried to get it published, didn't work out, and was like, I'm done messing around with agents and publishers. I've kind of got a fan base here, so I'll just throw it out on Amazon, and I don't care about making money on it. I make plenty of money on my normal job. I'm just going to throw it out there and see what happens. So,
you should see the top hat and monocle he walks around in his everyday life.
Yeah. Indeed. So, no, but yeah, I write novels, and I love writing. I hope that people like this new one. And I'm continuing to write novels. I'm working on a new one as we speak. I'm about a third of the way through. It is a much more comedic in orientation, and so it'll probably be out this winter. Is when I'm hoping to have it finished. But it is a calling of mine to be a novelist, and whether I'm financially successful or even good at it is up to.
So, why don't you tell us about your thoughts regarding the ongoing election campaign between Celestia and Luna?
Talking about, that's my favorite subplot. This was a replacement for the Rainbow Dash China plot. Once we finished that, we wanted to have a new overarching plot, and I really wanted to involve the election because I thought that it's a newsworthy item, and we've got this fandom oriented around Luna, fandom oriented around Celestia. I think we can exploit that. I think that it's a very easy way to ponify the news, is to talk about the election, and it's just fun. I think it's fun. The ongoing election is we really try to avoid making any Luna is a Republican, Celestia is a Democrat references. I mean, we kind of have to because the incumbent Celestia, the challenger Luna. I mean, you kind of have to fill that role. But as far as political ideologies, we really avoid that.
Yeah, they run the gamut, depending on what's funniest at the time, really.
Objectivism to draconianism to whatever you want to work on there.
We actually, it was amazing. One of the first videos that I did, and I had been, keeping track of this whole, Luna, Celestia debate thing going on here. And I actually slipped in a reference. I thought, of course, I was being so sly, and nobody, I'm talking over the heads of the audience. Aren't I just the smartest cookie? Ha 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 ha. But it was Luna shouting out, "The moon is a harsh mistress," which is the title of a Robert A. Heinlein novel, who has some very, we'll call them, interesting political views of his own. So I actually saw somebody on the comments. I don't know if it was on the Equestrian Daily comments or on the YouTube comments, but they were like, "Oh wow, it's odd that she would mention that since since she's not a libertarian." And Robert A. Heinlein, being a libertarian offshoot himself, they were like, I wonder if the commenters said that. I wonder if they realize that. I was like, oh my god, one person got this joke. I can't believe it. And in a pony context of all things, somebody got my libertarian joke.
Well, I can tell you that as far as the election goes, we will have voting. I can announce that is news. That has not been announced yet. We will be having an actual election where people will actually be allowed to vote on who they want to be Princess of Equestria.
We will tally your votes.
We will be having an election, and once we can get it worked out, we have something special planned. I don't know if I can announce it because we're still trying to figure out if we actually can do it, because it's a pretty audacious.
Oh, we can do it. It's just we're not quite sure if it'll be good or not.
Yeah, and so we've kind of got something very special planned, oriented around how that election will work. And so we will have an election. We will allow you to vote, and it will be brought to its conclusion. But what we're wanting to do here, in full disclosure, is we want people to think about the world around them, and we want people to investigate the actual election. We want people to participate in things. And if we can get people thinking and at the same time make people laugh, then that's awesome. And that's why in rendition of the Equestria elections, you will see a different political philosophy being flaunted. The first one was Ivan, my silly Russian character, quoting Plato when talking about why he thinks Celestia should be princess. The next one was someone quoting Ayn Rand.
It was Discord, wasn't it?
No,
I think Discord was talking about his,
Yeah, Discord was talking about, chaos, and chaos theory being a political philosophy.
Right. And avoiding stagnation. And people were commenting on that. They're like, wow, Discord's got some pretty good points.
Right. And then the next one was Mojo Jojo talking about Ayn Rand.
Right.
And so we are actually trying to take serious political philosophy, applying it to a silly show, and talking about a silly made-up election. And so it's us very laughingly talking about how clever we are.
Now, before we move on, you had mentioned Ivan, and I wanted to just ask you about that character and how that came about.
You want me to get him?
Oh, God.
Ivan, come over here. Ivan is present at time making a table. He's very late at night to make table. But it's good table. It's good for health. No, Ivan came about off of a Las Vegas vacation and a yard of margaritas. that is the true story of the origins of Ivan. It was
basically a tequila hallucination is what it is.
That took on a mind of its own.
Just not confessing that, but no, it was. I have a tendency to joke around with my friends. Sometimes my friends will call me, and I will talk to them in a Russian accent, just to joke around with them. And I will say, Andrew, how are you this evening? And Andrew will respond. He say, hello, how are you? And we'll have a random conversation, just trying to the goal is to make the other person break character and laugh first. Whoever can hold a straight face the longest win. Little contest. And so, in this tendency that I have, we were hanging out in Las Vegas, and we were just sitting in a bunch of couches and stuff. And I made up that I was going to start saying that this Russian person I was saying was Ivan. I said, I don't remember what it was. It's like, Ivan making table. And there was a table in there.
Way to destroy the mystique of the character, man.
No thought behind it, just whatever was in the room at the time.
We ended up having a 30-minute conversation about Ivan and his brother Dmitri and how he turned his brother into a table. And so it was just literally something that me and my friends made up that made us laugh. And I was like, I want to incorporate this into my show. And so he has come of a life of his own.
People love him. People point episodes out where it's like, oh, there was a profound lack of Ivan in this episode.
I think it's because, I love him because we kind of own him. He is not an original show creator. He is completely out of left field that we threw in there. In fact, he actually is present in my book, Joe Stevens Moxalama. He is the tour guide at Machu Picchu. So if you want to read my book, Joe Stevens Moxalama, you will get a check for Ivan.
What was the title of that book again, Joe?
99 cents on the Amazon Kindle store. Yeah, and so people will talk to, and I think it's because Ivan has this, he's always optimistic. Nothing bad ever happens. And, I thought about, like, am I actually making fun of Russians or something like that? And I'm trying not, I mean it completely endearing because I've been to Russia. I love Russian people. I've conversed with, I love the Russian accent. I just think it's a beautiful sounding accent, so I like to imitate it. And so the idea is that when Ivan, he's not stupid. It's just that he learned enough English to communicate effectively, and then he just stopped learning it. He's like, if I tell you what for is door, you understand question. I even not need to use proper English.
If it has not to do with table, then it does not have effect even.
Exactly. He learned enough that was necessary and refuses to learn anymore. I mean, it's sort of like he's content with what he knows. And so, and that eternal optimism, changeling hits me on head very hard, but it's okay because Ivan has a thick skull and has that one time where broke head in a massive factory explosion. Broke both legs, but, I was able to win World Series when Pop went back and make real baseball throw. But this is not Ivan's movie. This is Ivan taking plot from various childhood TV shows. But it's all good for health because Ivan break out of hallucination from childhood TV shows, wake up in hospital bed fully healed. It's good.
Half of Ivan's childhood really just dying coma dreams.
We can
all right. Go ahead.
Don't give him an opening to go further.
Don't give me that opening, because Ivan will just keep talking, and I love it because Draft and I are always talking about he wants to do, because he's actually Russian. And he wants to be Dmitri, and he has a very good Dmitri, and so we are always chatting, me and Draft, about this and such, but yeah.
All right, then, let's move on then. You talked about the campaign, how you're having stuff coming up for it. Is there anything else you can tell us about what's coming up on the Equestrian Inquirer?
More Rainbow Dash moving around, more camera angles.
Yes, more camera angles, more intensity, more of the funniness that you're doing. I think we're really experimenting with what we're doing, because what we don't want to do is we don't want to rely on the tried and true to be the exact same thing, but we want to make sure that we have one foot in what is good, what works, and what has been proven to be right, and one foot in experimentation and newness. And I think once Season 3 rolls around, we'll be comfortable. You'll probably see more voice actors being involved in our show, more fan collaboration with our show, because that we are more of a presence in the community. We get more people that are willing to participate, whereas before we'd be like, hey, Rena-chan, you want to be on our show? Who are you guys? And now we're like, hey, talking to these other voice actors that want to be a part of it, that are happy to be a part of it, and that we are happy. And if we ever got our act together, and if I did my planning more than 10 minutes in advance,
I'm glad to know that I'm not the only one there. Yeah, when it's talking about planning ahead, really when these articles, like I said, I'm horrible about getting these things. I work best under a gun. As far as, having a fire under my butt, trying to, oh, by the way, the deadline is here. I love deadlines. I love the whooshing noise that they make as they go by. Because it really, if I didn't have, other people relying on me, like Joe and Tech, I would not get any of these things done. It's the fact that, that we do have to put something out, every week that I actually manage to get any sort of output done at all. So, when you talk about planning ahead, I've always, got, ideas about what I want to do, because exactly as Joe said, I don't want to just be sitting in front of a desk, doing the same thing over and over again. Yeah, that's funny every now and then, but your words and your story really have to carry the entire thing. Otherwise, what's the point of putting it on video at all? Other than the whole, narcissistic pleasure that you get from watching yourself on TV. But so I try to, and I think I've done that in a few of my latest segments, where I'm breaking out of that just one camera in front of a desk mentality that I had when I started up. I'm I'm moving things around. I'm doing some action shots. I'm doing different angles and stuff like that. And so that's where I see my segment heading into is definitely being a lot more dynamic and a lot less static.
And we're always open to new people who want to join in. If we have any animators, that's the thing that we think our show has always been lacking, is we need an animation of some kind, of someone.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
We're always looking for new participants. Just because we have these 5 people that work on our show does not mean that we are in any way closed to new blood to be brought in. We want fresh faces, fresh ideas. Everyone writes a freelance article. Everyone does a presentation with their own style of humor. So everyone's got something to bring to the table.
Feel free to bring us your ideas. We will gladly steal them.
Yes. Love to steal them. And here's what I can say that as far as what's coming in the future. What I can always say, no matter what we do, it will be funny. That is our goal number 1, is when you turn on the Equestrian Inquirer, you will laugh.
Yes.
Our thought is,
you will not have a choice in the matter. You will laugh.
If you're not laughing within 5 seconds of watching our show, we have not done our job right. And that is the challenge that we do week after week after week. And so I think for the most part we've been able to do that. And so that is as far as what we're going to do specifically, we're going to make you laugh. And we're going to
make them laugh, make them laugh. All the world loves. I forget the rest of the lyrics.
Indeed. And so we're going to experiment with new things. We're going to try fun things. But that is all going to be stuff that makes us laugh, and we know that you'll laugh with it too. So we kind of don't know what we're going to be doing, but we know it'll be funny, or at least
yeah. At least we'll have 3 people laughing, no matter what happens. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that just about wraps up our interview. I just want to end with any final thoughts you guys have, any shout-outs you want to make?
You guys go ahead. I'll just say real quick. Thank you so much to Sethisto and to all Serial Velocity and all the other Equestria Daily people. Like I said, this literally was me at 10 o'clock at night on a Sunday saying I want to revive the Gravy Inquirer and make it the Equestrian Inquirer. I wrote an email, sent it to Seth, and he posted it. And from then on, it was a thing that I was committed to, and because people embraced it so well. And so thank you to the fans that have embraced us so quickly and so wonderfully. Thank you to, of course, the show people, and all the great. So I could spend so much time thanking, so I'm not going to. But it is so much fun to do this. It is so much fun. Playing in this fandom and continuing to improve, and it's just if it makes me laugh and it makes me happy, we're gonna keep doing it, and I'm just so flabbergasted and enjoying it that you guys can laugh along with us.
I have to go with pretty much everything that Joe said too. I mean, just big thanks to everybody who's been watching the show from the beginning, and it's wonderful to have the opportunity to bring this style of humor to you in this fandom, because there really isn't anything like it. I mean, there's funny videos, there's funny music, but this I think is something very unique that we've created. What I was saying was that I just want to thank everybody for watching the show, because it really gives us, this is a great opportunity for us to provide this kind of content to the community. And I'm kind of repeating what I said before, but because I think we provide something very unique. I mean, there's plenty of comedic works out there created by the fans. There's comics, there's artwork, there's funny videos, there's funny songs. But to have something that you can consistently come back to on a weekly basis, where you can tune in every Wednesday and know there's going to be some new silly thing that you're going to be able to see. I think that's something that we provide that you really don't see anywhere else in this fandom. And I'm personally honored that I can be a part of that. And and just honored that as a group we can provide that kind of thing to the community. And so I really appreciate you guys watching us and loving what we do.
And then I'd like to thank Battlefield Bro absolutely for helping us look professional, even when I know for a fact that I am not. Somehow you managed to turn that into gold. Truthy, your commercials are hilarious. And thanks for picking up doing some of the print issues. That's we appreciate your work there. The commenters on our videos and on Equestria Daily and on the DeviantArt page. Thank you so much for writing in, letting us know what you like, what you don't like. Tossing the amount of love that you come in. I was so worried about just putting these things up on YouTube because I know what happens on YouTube. Okay, I know it's pretty much a game to see how horrible you can make a comment sometimes. Everything has just been so overwhelmingly positive that it has exceeded all my greatest expectations. Thank you so much for having an interest in the show, and for taking the time out to comment on that. I really do appreciate that. To everybody that we have interviewed, Tara, John Delancey, everybody, Amy Keating Rogers for being my first and for always having a place in my heart. Thank you so much for your patience, for your good humor in playing along with us and our little show. So thank you so much to you guys. And thank you to the US of A for giving us our freedoms, and thank you to the Navy for keeping Godzilla at bay.
Thank you to Lightning and Reishi for giving us this awesome opportunity.
Yes, thank you.
This was fun. I think that we took so long. I think because we sort of had this pent up, we want to talk about our story kind of idea. We haven't really told it before, and so we're really excited to do it.
Yeah, we finally get to, do our favorite subject, ourselves.
Get this off our chest,
I'm really glad that we gave you that chance, and so thank you so much for the interview. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. We really appreciate it.
Yep, always happy to oblige.
So I think we can conclude, if I could, with our signature sign-off phrase. I think we can all say it at the same time. So 3, 2, 1. Good night.
Good night and good luck.
And that was our interview for the week. And with that, we'll head into the weather report for this week. To start it off, we have an important message from the crew of Everfree Northwest. They actually brought out a press release thanking a certain local support group in Seattle called Jigsaw Renaissance. Jigsaw is a group which, in their own words, are unfiltered, unencumbered, and unapologetically enthusiastic ideas. It goes through a whole press release explaining what they are and what they did to help with Everfree Northwest. And then they give you a website where you can go and find out more about them and donate. And the link for all of that is in the show notes.
And next up, we have a little bit of news about DHX Media. They actually recently acquired a company called Cookie Jar, and as far as episode content, they are now the largest children entertainment company out there. And probably the largest children's media company in Canada. We don't know if Friendship is Magic had any say over this or anything like that, but you can find the full press release in the show notes.
Next up, we have a whole bunch of convention news coming to you this week. First off is PonyCon AU, which has been confirmed as the first ever Australian fan convention, and it'll be held on the 6th of April, 2013. Also in the list, we have the Brony Fanfare PMB contest, where you can find the rules and guidelines for that. There is also a convention called RU BronyCon, which is the second Russian Brony convention. And they've got estimated prices for that as $32 or $19 for non-residents. There is another convention that has been announced for Kansas City. This one is called the Kansas Silly Philly Con, and it has been announced. And they're going to be offering guests such as Noakin, which is the voice of Vinyl Scratch in the Epic Web Time videos. DJ Shamrock will be there as the operator of Celestia Radio, and he will actually be live streaming that event. And White Dove Creations will also be there as the amazingly talented plush creator. We've also got BronyCon Midwest 2013, which BronyCon Midwest 2013 has openings now for volunteers in several areas, and you can contact them at BronyConMidwest.com, and there you can also include your Skype information and talk to them that way as well. There was also a BronyCon sponsored meetup in Boston where they had a marathon organized by the Boston Bronies and endorsed by BronyCon, where it was 2 seasons in 2 days, which was this weekend, and that was at 20 University Drive in Nashua, New Hampshire. And the link for all of these things can be found in the show notes.
And next up, we have a Huffington Post interview. One of the Zephyr Sparkle, the chair of BronyCon, was actually a part of it. I think there was a little bit of concern over the way certain things were done. Most of the things Zephyr Sparkle said were actually spot on, however. And of course, you can find a link to the video. It's about 20 minutes long and probably contains a good bit of information, so if you want to check that out, you can see it in the show notes.
Next up is some scrapped villain poster ideas. Everyone knows about the Friendship is Chaos poster that came out at Walmart with Discord, and he's got one arm around Nightmare Moon and one arm around Chrysalis, and it's just a really, really cool poster, but apparently it wasn't the only idea that they had. When he first thought of the idea, there was one where he was located in the Everfree Forest, and there was Trixie that had her stage set up, and all the other villains were around her. And they also had another one where they were in the saloon in Dodge Junction, but it was scrapped because of possible alcohol and gambling references. So the version 3 is the one that ended up getting made, which was the one in Discord at Ponyville. And you can find a link to this in the show notes as well.
And next up, we have a plushie contest, but not just a normal plushie contest, a plushie contest where you can win one of your own OC. And all you have to do is go to the Facebook group for My Little Pony Friendship is Magic and join the group, as well as send them an email detailing your OC's backstory and a picture of them. The plushie is going to be about 20 inches long and is normally about $50 and is actually made by Meow Please of Deviant Art. The contest ends August 31st at midnight. To find a link to this and the email address and a link to the Facebook group, check out the show notes.
Next thing on the list is the herd census is in need of some assistance. This, if you don't know, is the Brony census for 2013. They intend to find out not only how many Bronies there are in the community, but what the demographics are, like sex, age, stuff like that. And this is going to be a lot of information that they're trying to get together, and they need volunteers to help them out. You can find a link to their homepage in the show notes.
And next up, we have a convention compilation for Buck that happened not too long ago in Manchester, including pictures, videos of the Britannia plushie auction, the second day musician panel, as well as Laserpone 3's performance, and finally a link to their closing ceremonies. So if you're wondering what just happened at Buck, you can find a link to it in the show notes.
Next up, we have some news out of Equestria LA. The tickets for Equestria LA, the convention being held in Los Angeles on November 3rd, has been completely sold out. We're unsure if there's going to be an increase to the ticket cap, but as of now, it's completely sold out. And if there is an increase, it'll be reported on later. So you can find a link to that in the show notes.
And next up, we have information from Midwestria. They have actually announced Charlotte Fullerton writer for Friendship is Magic for episodes such as Look Before You Sleep, A Bird in the Hoof, and Baby Cake. And they have also announced some community musicians such as Eurobeat Brony and EHT, both of which will be performing during 2 concerts that they're putting on. And they're also having a 5K charity race they have titled Running of the Leaves. It's just a friendly race and is used to raise money for therapeutic equine activities. It's a not-for-profit charitable organization founded for the express purpose of providing and conducting therapeutic equestrian activities for people with disabilities. They're also going to be holding an Iron Artist competition and 3 dances, one being the Grand Galloping Gala for formal attire and 2 informal dances for those who would rather carry around a bunch of glow sticks. And to top it all off, they will also have a few more panels, such as how to make your own custom pony, That's the Old Books, background ponies of Friendship is Magic, and one titled Rarity is Best Pony. We'll have to see what that one's all about. Pre-registration is only $40 and ends September 7th. They're still looking for staffers as well. And you can check out more information on that in the show notes.
And with that, we'll head into the PMTV segment for this week, starting with the videos. Pony the Barks Productions has brought out a new trailer for their new series that's going to be coming out. This is entitled The Daring Do Adventures, and it features Wolfie as the voice of Daring Do, along with other various voice actors in the community. So definitely check that out. There's also a new animation short that came from Dialect Studios. This one is titled The Fly, which is Derpy versus Fly. Really short, quick animation that he actually used as his audition for Double Rainbow. So it's pretty funny to watch, and so you can check that one out as well. There was a lot of Twilightlicious variations that came out this week. They had both Applelicious and Rainbowlicious, which Applelicious is Apple Bloom's version of Twilightlicious, and it's a little bit more basic, just her saying, ain't no other pony troll it down like me. It's just like Twilightlicious, but she just uses her name instead. Rainbowlicious is a little bit more unique because she doesn't want to do it. So, like, they have a voice actor for Twilight in the background that's kind of coaxing her along to do the entire thing, and it takes several takes to do it. And eventually she just gives up and just flies away. So that one was probably one of the best ones I've seen so far, so you can definitely check that one out. We've also got a really cool PMV that came out earlier this week. This one's called The Garden, and it involves Fluttershy flying into the Everfree Forest, and there's really, really cool visual effects that go along with it as well. And the song is incredibly amazing as well, so definitely give that one a view. And last, we have something new from Rena Chan. Obviously, we know that she's gone crazy with this whole Colgate thing, and recently has brought out a toothpaste cannon infomercial with Iron Will. And it's just ridiculous and funny, and definitely check that out. The link for all of these videos can be found in the show notes.
And that brings us to our music section. First up, we have one by Haymaker titled Not Quite Angels. It is an alt-country waltz based on, for the CMC, based loosely on the Sleepover episode. It's pretty good to listen to, and it's actually quite a bit different than what we normally get as well. And it's definitely worth a listen. Next up, we have I Don't Hate You by Toastbeard and ZIQ47. This one's, it's an acoustic song, and is basically about Pinky's world through the eyes of her best friend or lover. So definitely check that one out. And next up, we have a song titled Nightmare's Lament by Azir Kitkumi, which, listening to it, you kind of get the feel that it's a Nightmare Moon talking about how she's losing favor to Chrysalis, and it actually came off a lot more funny, and it's just a great song to listen to. And next we have a Plain White Tees parody of Hey There Delilah titled Dear Twilight Sparkle. It is very well done and definitely worth a listen. And lastly, we have a Been Dreaming remix by Binxis and MC Flowney featuring Feather, simply titled Dream. It was a rather large collaborative effort. Yeah, very large collaborative effort with quite a few names to actually rattle off, and it's definitely worth a listen. I'd say at least 4 or 5 people were all involved in this one, plus a few of the other remixes that came out for The Living Tombstone's Been Dreaming. So definitely check this one out and give it a listen. And you can find links to all of these in the show notes.
Unfortunately, this week we do not have a casting call for you guys. There's just been a lot of projects that are in the middle of production but are already cast and stuff, so nothing new this week. We'll try to get you something new for next week. But with that, we'll head into the fanfics segment for this week, in which I'm going to be highlighting a fanfic called Sisters by Bad Horse. This one's a little bit different than usual, whereas this one is actually a collection of 3 short stories based on the relationship between Celestia and Luna, and they're all really pretty funny, and definitely worth checking out. The link to that can be found in the show notes. And with that, that is the end of the lightning round for this week. Be sure to tune in next week. We got our interview with Pony in a Box Productions, and until then, we'll see you next time.